The FBI doesn't need any help looking like goofballs.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, September 27th, 2018. This is your award-winning Gibbo Nation Media Assassination Episode 1072.
This is No Agenda.
Jacked up on Dayquil and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where the Zephyrs are waiting, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill
In the morning.
Yes. Yes.
We're pre-Zephyr.
I got the worst head cold or allergies or both. I don't know what it is, but
Well, where you're living, I would guess it was going to be something in the environment.
Allergy related. It's really bad this time.
It's always really bad this time. It wasn't as bad as where you can't stand up, which a couple of years ago, I remember that.
Yes, that was the mold, and I've kicked the mold. I don't have that anymore. I think now it's ragweed, and it's just I'm sneezing the whole time. And
you itchy? Is your nose, ears, eyes itchy?
Yes, eyes, nose, yes.
Oh, that's allergies.
Yeah. So I'm on the Dayquil. Whoa.
Oh, jeez.
It's good stuff.
That's going to ruin the show.
It's good stuff, everybody. How you doing? I'm on Dayquil.
I thought you had some other
No. That was quercetin for the mold, but I don't have that anymore. I've kicked that. It's like,
but does the quercetin also work for the other allergies?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Oh,
no. It's okay.
Well, all I know is outside of here, all hell's breaking loose. There's a million fire sirens.
I can tell. I hear stuff breaking through the noise gate. Is it right outside the house?
There's a bunch of highway patrol guys. They're all blockading the road.
The road in front of your house?
No, just on the freeway down there.
Oh, okay. All right.
This is at a distance.
Wow, still pretty.
And I hear more cops coming.
No.
So there's a big bus going on.
OJ.
This is a bus.
It's OJ.
OJ. Yeah.
In the white Bronco.
There goes the white Bronco. Holy mackerel.
So this morning, and it is, of course, a show day when the fun stuff happens. I was torn. I was torn between doing the show and watching the Kavanaugh Dr. Ford hearing. I almost didn't show up.
That's cute.
What a shit show.
Because it is so enthralling.
It truly, I am so embarrassed as an American. You know, people don't laugh at America for what Trump says, the United Nations. They're laughing about our obsession with sex. It's all about sex. Everything is sex. Sex. Penis. Yeah, he put his penis in front of her face. And then...
I like that one. That's a new one.
Yeah, although mainstream media never really reads the affidavit verbatim. And then pulling a train. Ask him this. Did you ever pull a train? I mean, come on. We are sad.
By the way, it wouldn't be the male pulling the train.
I'm telling you, that's what the affidavit says.
He pulled the train? That means
No. Yes, I do. Yeah, thank you. I've been around.
I know, but you know what that would mean in terms of him?
Yes, I know what that would mean. But I'm just telling you what the affidavit stated that Avenatti, who, by the way, is the perfect actor for this shit show. You could not have cast this guy better. I mean, in fact, everyone, even Ford, she's great casting. It's exactly what you want from this witness. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm seeing that the Republican senators have this female prosecutor who asks their questions. So they don't ask the questions. They actually say, okay, Mr. So-and-so, your turn. And then this female prosecutor asks the senator's question. But I think that the women who are on the panel, they do get to ask the question.
Well, this was obvious. This is a ploy.
The whole thing is embarrassingly stupid. The whole thing.
Oh, come on. I think it's fabulous.
Well, no, it's not good because it happens on the show day and it won't make any sense to pull clips.
No,
it ruins it.
It probably would be a time killer anyway.
Let me just set one thing straight that people have to understand. And I cite from the U.S. Constitution, Article 3, Section 1. And the reason I quote from this is there's one big mistake or, the inaccuracy that is being perpetrated everywhere. The job of Supreme Court Justice is not for life. It's not. You can get removed.
Yeah, you can get impeached.
Yes, and let me give you the piece from the Constitution. I think it's important. So again, Article 3, Section 1. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior. So, anything can be misconstrued as not good behavior, I guess, somewhere down the line. So it's not like it's set in stone, you can't be removed. It just irks me that it's always, it's going to be for the rest of his life. It's a lifetime appointment. We'll live with this man forever.
Yeah.
What is it with Americans and sex?
Give me a break. You think the British are worse? The British are worse when they have a sex scandal. It becomes every one of those newspapers has it on the front page and all kinds of things. Accusations go flying. Yeah, but at least in Britain, it's always about men buggering little boys. It's really scandalous. This just that's not true. There's plenty of sex scandals in the UK that are actual heterosexual scandals, even though you're probably right generally. Yeah. Now, besides having the cops all over the place, there's like 1,000 cops down there, and now there's a murder of crows flying around the house.
Is that the technical term? A murder of crows?
Yeah.
How many in a murder?
50, maybe more.
That doesn't seem very exact. Okay.
Well, it's just any group. They group up and then they have a meeting. These crows are crazy. They group up and have these meetings, and it's like a gab fest, and it makes so much noise. You just hope they don't do it out nearby.
Of course,
it's life in the jungle.
Yeah. We can't comment on anything that's happening today, and it probably won't be that much to comment on, other than we're looking for Kavanaugh not to be confirmed.
Well, he's not going to be confirmed today.
No. But I guess the vote is tomorrow. It doesn't really matter. I mean, to me, it seems like this is going just swimmingly, just the way the president hoped it would go, or not. His idea was, if Kavanaugh gets through, he'll be good. But they're probably going to rip him to shreds, so I'll put the woman on later.
Yeah, Amy.
I can always put he couldn't do it the other way around because if you put Amy on first and she got torn down for whatever sex scandal,
you want Amy on there. She is young.
But hold on. That's my point. My point is, this is the sacrificial lamb. But if Kavanaugh makes it through, I guess Trump thought, good judge. You don't want to miss Amy. You're right. She's the one you want on. And, Ginsburg is not going to be around forever.
No, she's not going to last through Trump's.
I don't think so.
Last through 2020.
I don't think so either. I mean, not that she's going to die, but she'll just be tired. She's tired. She's very, very tired.
She's sleeping all the time. She sleeps on the bench. She sleeps at the meetings. She's just asleep.
Let me play a couple of clips of the M5M medias surrounding this historic day. We're all just all giddy with it. And let's start with the actor that you could not cast any better, Avenatti, who
has absolutely nothing to do with this, by the way. He's just kind of jumped in.
Well, he has a third accuser.
Yeah, he's got some phony third accuser.
He's a train guy. He's
a publicity hound.
He's got the train accuser who actually says, it wasn't Kavanaugh, but he was there.
Chris, I just think it's absolutely unbelievable, and I think the American people are smarter than this. You cannot reconcile the individual in the Fox News interview with the individual who wrote what he wrote in his yearbook. You cannot reconcile the individual on Fox News with the individual that was joined at the hip with Mark Judge throughout the years at issue. You just can't. You cannot reconcile those two. And I don't believe that America is going to believe what Brett Kavanaugh just stated on Fox News. And I also want to say this. So what exactly is he saying? Is he saying that he did not have sexual intercourse? And are we going to get into a definition? That's the word he used. Exactly. Well, exactly. I mean, are we going to get into a definition of sexual intercourse? I mean, does that mean that he performed oral sex or had oral sex performed on him? Yeah. Does that mean any host of any other sexual activities occurred? or does he want America to believe that the only thing that he did until well into his college years was effectively kiss or French kiss a woman? Is that what he wants America to believe?
This is the level that we've gotten to. This is the
great.
level. Yeah, I know.
It's a good clip.
It's unbelievable.
Because I don't believe it.
But what if the senators do? Does that clear him?
Well, I don't believe it, and I think it shows that he's lying, and I am aware of...
I think it shows he's lying because I don't believe it. I mean, this is literally what's going on right now.
Many witnesses that will testify that is an absolute lie.
As counselor to this woman or women, you're going to have to put up some proof that shows he's not telling the truth. And
100%. That is our burden, and we're going to embrace it, and we're going to meet it, and I'm confident that...
He does this a lot. That's our burden. We're going to embrace it. We're going to meet it. By the way, 4chan, there's a claim on 4chan that this was a setup, and someone called the guy and basically spoofed this whole train accusation. But... he's got the burden. They're going to meet it.
Dr. Ford is going to embrace it and meet it. And I think that there's going to be others that are going to embrace it and meet that standard. But this Fox News interview and the statements that Brett Kavanaugh just stated tonight, I think will ultimately be shown to be 100% demonstrably false.
Okay. The thing that strikes me in just following all the coverage, this Mark Judge guy, what's his name? Mark Judge, the friend.
I think so. Yeah.
This guy seems like a bad actor. It's like he was there. Everyone knows him. The doctor knows him. This is the guy I'd be worried if I was him. Anyway, so how did all this come about? Ronan Farrow, who has done some fantastic work in New Yorker magazine for the #MeToo movement, kind of went a little off his trajectory here with this. And he was interviewed by George Stephanopoulos on ABC, and he let something fall very interesting, well, not surprising, but interesting about the second accuser.
Let me press you on that, though, because that sentence really did jump out at me when I read the article. She says that at first you wasn't sure this was Kavanaugh when you first came to her last week, and then you write, after 6 days of carefully assessing her memories and consulting with her attorney, she did become confident that it was him. A lot of people...
And George, I would say that that's extremely typical of these stories. When you're dealing with trauma, alcohol, many years in between, I think that the more cautious witnesses that I've dealt with in cases like this very frequently say, I want to take time to decide, I want to talk to other people involved, I want to search myself and make sure that I can affirmatively stand by these claims in the face of what she knew would be a crucible of partisan pushback, which is what she's receiving now.
Why did she come forward?
She came forward because Senate Democrats began looking at this claim. She did not flag this for those Democrats. This came to the attention of people on the Hill independently, and it's really cornered her into an awkward position.
So the Senate Democrats went looking for it. Thank you, Ronan. That makes nothing but sense.
I think Ronan's going to get set up for a...
Big fall.
Yeah,
I
think so.
I agree. He went out too far on a limb here.
He's getting kind of full of himself as the great... the
great liberator. He's got to be careful. Now, it was so unhinged, and I mean, we could play clips all day long of how we make this fit within everyone's movie. And by the way, just looking at the first hour this morning, this woman clearly believes what she's saying. There's no doubt about that. And I'm sure the judge is believing what he's saying. Although, people can't, I can't remember something we did on the last show, let alone 36, 37 years ago. And part of growing up is crazy shit happens. Certainly in those they had Mark Redmond, who lived down the block from me when I was 6 or 7. And he would do two things. One, he would play the sit-in game, which consisted of, hey, you want to play the sit-in game? And no matter what I said, he would then sit on my head, which was very uncomfortable. And I did think I was going to suffocate. And he also liked to throw darts in my shins.
He's a bully.
Yeah, just a bully. But it happened.
Darts.
And I'm here. Yeah, and they would stick in my shins, too.
It's like a lot of kids who'd like to throw matches at you.
Yeah. Oh. The kids would throw lady fingers and into the hood of your jacket. Anyway, so even when people say, the 4 witnesses that the doctor brought out about or mentioned in her initial claim. All four of them say, I wasn't at the party. I don't know anything about it. But that doesn't stop people from saying, hey, this proves it. This proves that it's true. I mean, just listen to the twistedness of this was, I think, Jake Tapper, and he had former Governor Jennifer Granholm. Is that her name? Granholm? Yeah,
yes. Granholm.
Yeah. And I was just surprised that she would say this. Listen.
We have now 4 individuals who have come forward who were named by Professor Ford who were at that party. Mm-hmm. And all 4, Kavanaugh, Judge, Smith, and her friend, Leland Kaiser, have all said they don't remember anything like this ever happened. And Leland Kaiser, who says she believes Ford, says that she doesn't even remember ever being at a party where Kavanaugh was present.
Right, and that actually corroborates Ford's story, which is that she was so horrified by this that she kind of snuck out or slunk out of this apartment in a way.
What? No, you got to listen to it.
Wait a minute. Let's go with the premise. Everybody says this didn't happen, and somehow this
corroborates it. It corroborates it.
It corroborates it.
Listen to her logic all the way to the end.
Leland Kaiser have all said they don't remember anything like this ever happened. And Leland Kaiser, who says she believes Ford, says that she doesn't even remember ever being at a party where Kavanaugh was present.
Right, and that actually corroborates Ford's story, which is that she was so horrified by this that she kind of snuck out or slunk out of this apartment in a way that no one would know what happened because she was so utterly mortified.
He said corroborates it that they didn't know anything happened because she snuck out. So facts, proof, something
fact check false.
I don't know. It's it's all very, very, very sad.
Just all stalling. I think that Trump's right. It's a con job.
Well, I got some stuff on that Trump will help us with here, but Gillibrand did 10 minutes on the floor, and I could have picked any random 35
I hope
seconds.
you have the one clip I liked from her.
Oh, I just picked the beginning.
The best part is, I believe her because she's telling the truth.
I didn't clip that.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I believe her because she's telling the truth.
We have a nominee for a lifetime appointment to the highest court in the land who has been accused, credibly, of sexual assault.
Credibly.
Dr. Blasey Ford reluctantly came forward out of civic
I mean, it's filled with that kind of stuff.
duty and said that Brett Kavanaugh tried to rape her in high school. She is now facing death threats for her courage and her worst fears of how she would be treated by this body have come to fruition. Another woman, Deborah Ramirez, agreed to tell her story after being contacted by a reporter, again risking her career and her safety, and said that Brett Kavanaugh exposed himself to her face in college while laughing as part of a game.
As part of a game? I didn't hear the game part.
I didn't know as part of a game. Maybe they had truth or dare.
Expose himself to her face in college as part of a game. I just love the cadence of it.
You know what I like is the fact that the Democrats here can use they're using the hearings as a double-edged sword. One edge is that these Republicans are Nazi and they're violent, and there's a lot of violence because it's all these Nazis. I mean, it's just this violence meme is throughout this.
Yes.
Oh, she's been her life's been threatened, and we'll put the FBI on that if that's true. And then she got over $200,000 in donations on GoFundMe for a security detail.
Mm-hmm.
This whole thing.
The GoFundMe is the best. It's the best. You know, you can pay people off. You can do whatever you want right out there in the public, transparent. No one knows what's going on. It's really good. I have a number of other things here. Fox, just a little thing from Fox.
Well, nice job from you and your crew, Michael. Thank you very much. Anahita said again for 10 seconds. I mean, final thoughts. Bill Cosby, handcuffs.
It's done. It's powerful, very powerful image, powerful press conference. I think this is a victory not just for Ms. Constand, but all of Cosby's other alleged victims and really all other victims of sexual assault. We are in a new era. This is the Me Too era. Victims will be believed. They will receive justice, and they should speak out and tell their truth.
Now, I think this is a real problem for the Kavanaugh situation with Cosby being convicted, being let off in handcuffs. And people, I think Scott Adams would probably say that kind of message persuades people to think about Kavanaugh being guilty as well. Trump did a press conference, which was, I mean, we could just sit there. I can listen to that all day. To the words he mispronounces, to the things he said. I mean, and my mouth falls open, and I'm just like, wow, this is great. The
thing about the press conference, if we assume that Trump our thesis is that this guy was a straw man set up to just get beat up.
Yeah.
Probably warned in advance, you're going to get beat up. Well, I think I can handle it. If the whole thing is just to move on to Amy sooner than later, they're going to move on to her eventually.
It is, and I think he gave it away in this press conference. I think he totally played his hand. It came out kind of out of nowhere. He didn't have to do what he said, and here it is.
It can happen the other way. Allegations can go the other way also. You understand that. And whether it was a man or a woman, 30 years ago, 36 years ago, in fact, they don't even know how many years ago because nobody knows what the time is. That's a long time. And I could pick, as an example, hopefully I won't have to do it as a replacement because hopefully this is going to go very well on Thursday. It's going to go very well on Monday or Saturday or Sunday or whenever they vote. Mm-hmm. But I could pick a woman, and she could have charges made from many years ago also.
But don't you understand,
and I would look at the character. What I have to do
are reluctant to come forward. You've raised doubts about these accusers. Many of them.
I don't think people are reluctant to come forward. They're going to have a chance to speak they have a major chance to speak. Excuse me. They have a major chance to speak, and it will be tomorrow, I assume. We've delayed this, meaning the Republican senators, not me. The Republican senators have delayed this for weeks now. They're giving women a major chance to speak. Now, it's possible I'll hear that and I'll say, hey, I'm changing my mind. That is possible. We want to give them a chance to speak. And they're given.
No, so it seems
By
like...
the way,
yes.
Just to interrupt, he apparently did learn the Kellyanne Conway trick, which I've never seen him do before, of saying, excuse me, to stop someone from interrupting.
Especially when it's Jim Acosta, which is great.
Yeah, well, I can't imagine why he's even talking to that guy, but anyway, it's on work.
Well, so anyway, so I think the president gave it away right there. That's been the plan the whole time, and the only way I can look, it was a hedge. It's like, hey, we're going to do this. We'll put in a really quality guy, but he might or gal, but that person could probably get chopped down for a whole bunch of reasons. We got to try and do it before the midterms, but we want to save the best because Ginsburg is going to go anyway, so Amy would get on no matter what. So it kind of can't lose, and I guess he thinks he ignites his base if they can't get him confirmed beforehand.
Yes, because it'll get people out to vote.
Yeah.
The Democrats have been pounding the pavement to get people out to vote, but with the economy booming, which it should continue to do past the midterms, I think.
Well, now
it's running a little late. I mean, we had 9.5 years into a so-called bull market. It's about
wait a minute, isn't it 88, 2008, 2018? Isn't that the cycle? Isn't it like we're on a 10-year cycle? We had it was 87. Was it 87 or 88? I think it was 87. We had the October 87.
Well, the 87 crash was a flash, pretty much flash
right?
crash.
And then we had
that really corresponds to an 80-year cycle from 1907 kind of thing.
I concur with my dear colleague. Yes, it's 1907. I mean, what am I thinking? Right, but it's on the sevens.
The point is that this economy is like the plates in the air or something with that song. Yep,
spin the plates.
And so they have this going on, and it'll be interesting to see what happens it could crash in October. That's a classic month.
Yes, it's the best month.
Market to crash.
So back to the pressure, and then I want to get back to Kavanaugh for a second with a couple other clips. But Jim Acosta did the worst virtue signaling thing I've ever seen. It was so stupid. And it was in the context of him asking questions. And actually, the question you just heard came after that. It was about the sexual assault. But just a virtue signal to everyone that he stands up to the president who hates women. You know he hates women, right? The Nazi orange-headed. Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Hates women, hates Jews, hates blacks. There's not much left to hate. He hates pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
Except me, because I'm an old, straight white dude. I'm in the pocket. Listen to what Jim Acosta said.
Thank you very much. If you don't mind, after I'm finished, if Ouija or Hallie or Vivian or one of our female colleagues could go after me, that would be great. Mr. President, just to follow up on these allegations against Brett.
What does he mean by that? Explain. What does that mean?
I think it would be great if a female.
What does it mean? No, what does it mean?
It would be great if a female reporter would ask you a question about this issue.
So what he's saying is, after I'm done, after the man here is done, you probably should let some women go. He doesn't even realize how stupid he sounds.
It's terrible.
I mean, he literally says, after I'm done. Here, listen to this.
Thank you very much. If you don't mind, after I'm finished.
After I'm finished, you should probably ask a woman about this. You know, it's like I'm trying to promote women here. After me. What a dick.
He is a total dick.
Oh, disgusting. So,
that is bad.
NPR did something I found interesting, although not terribly innovative. They got a whole bunch of high school kids, today's 15-year-olds, and asked them some questions about this Kavanaugh hearing and the situation. Wow. And actually, I think these kids are from the guy you'll hear is from the same school Kavanaugh went to, the prep school, and the girls are from the same school that Judge Ford went to. Hey, innovative, no? They really went all out at NPR. Let's do this. And I thought the results were predictable.
Judge Ford?
No, it's Dr. Ford. It's Judge Kavanaugh.
You said Judge Ford.
No, well, thanks for the correction.
I think that the first reaction is that it's pretty crazy that it's like my school is so involved and Georgetown Prep is so involved, especially because like I have a lot of friends who went to Prep.
Prep?
Prep. And
be prepared for a lot of up-talking.
I think it's really admirable how much the Holton community immediately stood behind Christine Blasey Ford.
Okay. Jack Torres, I mean, what about you?
The school did not start talking about it immediately. I mean, most people didn't even know who Kavanaugh was or that there was an open seat on the Supreme Court.
That's my favorite. We didn't even know there was an open seat on the Supreme Court, honestly.
But then as it, started headlining more and more often and people started posting about it, and especially the more activist students in our school, people started talking about it more definitely.
Okay. And so what's the nature of those conversations? I mean, what are people saying?
I think people are talking about how, one, what you do in high school affects the rest of your life, and two, the way that people are perceiving high school students on a national level and the way that the GOP Senate is talking about us.
This is really fascinating to me. So this is not about men and women and power and sex as a weapon. No. It's all about them. Hey, they're talking about us. It's like, be careful what you do now. That could mess you up for the rest. They don't care. They do not care what happened or did not happen. Don't even know. Is this not like a prominent preparatory school? They don't even know. They didn't even know that there was an opening.
Into some sort of trend of that generation, which is the new disease.
You think?
In this very condescending way, and that's been unappreciated by my school.
I think that the male Hummers have been underexposed on the No Agenda show. I'm glad that we have him
about us in this very condescending way, and that's been unappreciated by my school.
Talk to me more about that. What do you mean?
They've just been saying stuff about how, high schoolers don't know anything about consent and just kind of referring to us as if we're like ignorant and that we don't know what we're talking about. But almost every high schooler I know knows the difference between what Kavanaugh did and a healthy relationship. And so the fact that people have sort of been pretending like that's not true has been offensive to a lot of the high schoolers in my school, definitely.
So let me just jump in here. I'm going to have to continuously say what he is alleged to have done.
What he is alleged.
What Professor Ford is claiming that he's done.
That was also very telling, I found. The guy that
it's also telling in the fact that this kid is supposed to be so all-knowing, and then he makes a mistake of doing that, and he gets caught by the reporter, which I'm glad that happened.
Yes.
And then he backs off real quick, but yeah, he's an idiot.
So a lot of...
But I like the voice.
Oh, they're all like this. All of them. And these, I think, are very privileged children. These are private schools.
They've always had this condescending. It's like that Connecticut accent.
But it's all
Buffy, Buffy.
Well, it's also
is she
DC
going to be here today for the tea. I don't know.
I think you're also hearing DC. DC is filled with douchebags, with douchebag children, and later we'll get to it. But power, man, it doesn't matter what kind of power you have. It's very attractive to people, and it's very intoxicating to people who have it. And John and I have been around long enough to see all the crazy shit that people with power do. It can be a CEO, it can be a politician, it can be all. That's human nature. Now we're finally seeing how it works. Here is one of the girls at Dr. Ford's school who also wrote and signed her name to the letter of support. And you'd like to know why. At least that seems like an obvious question.
Well, so why did you decide to write this letter, by the way? I should just remind folks that the letter that you wrote is titled, "We are 15-year-old girls, we are with you, Christine Blasey Ford." I mean, why did you decide to write it?
When we heard about the allegations, we felt really passionate about it because, again, we are 15, and it was something so personal to us. So we wrote the letter because we wanted...
Yeah, I know. They are all deflecting. It's all about them. And she can't be guilty because of us.
15, and it was something so personal to us. So we wrote the letter because we wanted this perspective, because the way that people were treating this trial and the allegations was very... They were overlooking that she had humanity and she was a person. We just felt that empathy for her, and we wanted to pass that on to adults and other teenagers and everyone.
She had humanity and she's a person, so we just wanted to pass that on.
Yeah. And Jack, you're shaking your head.
I love the report. And she can't even finish the sentence, and the reporter goes,
to adults and other teenagers and everyone.
Yeah. And Jack, you're shaking your head. You're nodding your head, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an awesome letter, and I think that was an awesome idea.
Awesome.
And we're glad to support Christine Blasey Ford with you.
It was an awesome letter. It was an awesome idea.
Woman could be a complete fraud.
She could be a murderer. She could be a murderer.
She could be a fraud murderer. And they're all on board because
murderers are humans too. Yes.
She's a person.
She has humanity. She has humanity.
And she's a person.
Now, let's talk a little bit about this single-sex school social culture.
I mean, Anjali is just talking to us about single-sex schools. I don't know. Is your school single-sex or is it co-ed?
It's co-ed.
It's co-ed. Okay, so I mean, tell us a little bit about, I mean, if you can, sort of what the social culture is like there.
The social culture is very focused on gender roles, which is something that really it supports sexual assault, and it makes our culture so much worse when it comes to rape culture, and it's just something that it's really hard to avoid, but it's something that we should be trying and focusing to stop.
Well, so I just want to read a comment to you, Layla, that we got on our website. It's from someone called Honest Debate 2. And this person says, "Quit traumatizing these poor high school girls by turning them into inevitable victims. Empower them instead. This effort to paint males as predators and females as pure is simply insane." What's your response to that person?
The letter empowered me and my two coworkers so much that comment is just so, I don't know, I can't It's that was so empowering, and to be able to have that voice is more empowering than anything. And so we're not painting men as predators. This is who they are.
Oh, hold on.
She says so a lot, which is interesting. But yes, now she's saying all men are creeps.
Yeah. That was so empowering, and to be able to have that voice is more empowering than anything. And so we're not painting men as predators. This is who they are. And fun for boys should never be exploitation for girls. And so, fun. And
okay, stop. You have to get that clipped out for an ISO.
What was she says? We're not painting men this way. They are. That's the way
they are.
So I don't know. I can't. It's just that was so empowering.
What are they teaching these kids at these schools? I blame the teachers.
This is what they're teaching.
Be able to have that voice is more empowering than anything. And so we're not painting men as predators. This is who they are. And fun for boys should never be exploitation for girls. And so, fun. And
Layla, were you? So let me.
This one just drops out from time to time. She's like, she falls asleep. She just stops talking. All right, final one with a new term for us to learn.
Layla Bagwell. Just I'm going to ask the same question I ask of Anjali. Are young people getting mixed signals from our nation's leaders right now?
Oh yes, the mixed signals question. Oh yeah.
I think that there is some obvious sexism in that, as we tell boys that we're telling Judge Kavanaugh that his mistakes, his actions were in high school, they don't matter anymore. But yet we're telling teenagers that they need to be responsible for their actions. And it's just awful how adults get to pick and choose what we're responsible for.
Mm-hmm. That's like a noodle boy thing. Adults
noodle boy.
Adults get to pick and choose
adults are telling us what to do.
How dare those adults? But wait, there's a term for it.
Awful how adults get to pick and choose what we're responsible for.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more about that.
Like, adultism is very real.
Adultism. That's
Adultism is very real.
Yes, that's when you and I pick and choose what your kids should care about. That's adultism. When it's called parenting, but in the new speak, it's adultism. You a-hole adultist, you. Who do you think you are? Well, I don't know. I raised you.
Parent.
You sucked all my resources. All my money is gone. I'm a parent. Yes. Now that's adultism. Parenting is adultism. Fear is freedom.
Like, adultism is very real, as in we overlook the youth perspective and we don't really empathize with them. And that is a perspective that really needs to be seen. And that's why I'm glad I'm doing this
okay. Well, I'm pulling your tuition. How about that for some adultism?
Youth perspective needs to be considered more. And I think we could have a lot more well-rounded conversations about this if we really included the youth perspective.
Yeah. We're talking with a terrific roundtable of teens about what they make of this moment regarding the Kavanaugh nomination and sexual assault allegations, and how, we as a nation, our nation's leaders are handling it, and what lessons they're drawing from this moment.
That's what
I'm going to give you a clip of the day for the adultism woman.
Okay.
Girl.
Yeah, I'll take that.
15-year-old girl.
Clip of the day.
And let's reiterate where this was from.
This was from On the Media, NPR.
Okay, On the Media. That's the show that shows up on Sundays.
Yes, yes.
I'm surprised they weren't more flabbergasted than they were, but at least they did hang in there to get them to say adultism or her.
Adultism. It's a great word. You're so adultist.
You're an adultist.
Bastard. Well, that's probably about all we can say about what's happening. I don't know. I mean, the idea is he doesn't go through. That's the idea.
Well, I think your little clip of Trump kind of giving it all away because he really can't resist.
Yeah.
Well, at least he gives enough hints that people that if you're hearing him right,
you're in the know. Yeah, if you have your ears
you're
open,
hearing the right stuff. If you're not, you're just whatever. Yeah. Now Trump went to the UN.
Yes.
And he gave what I thought was actually a
very good speech. Yeah.
But it was ridiculed because somebody heckled him from the audience.
Yeah, and then he cracked a joke and everyone laughed.
Yeah, he cracked a joke and everyone laughed, which was interpreted by the late night comics as they were laughing at him. He was an idiot.
Do we have that on the Trump rotation? Laughing stock of the world? because that's what it's turned into. That laughter that the mainstream has turned it into. We're the laughing stock of the world. The world laughs at you, Donald Trump. I think
actually, it probably needs to be
TrumpRotation.com is the website.
Yeah, TrumpRotation.com. I don't think it's on there.
Well, it needs to be added. We have a lot on there, but
I need to add a bunch, and I keep putting on little sheets on the back of envelopes, and I haven't added any of them.
Great
Here's another
system.
sheet. I'll put it on here.
Have you heard of OneNote? Yeah.
Okay. There's a couple others missing on there. People should send me email me some of the missing ones. We got 100 on there, but we're just missing.
Now, back to the UN speech.
So now I have like the kind of a long, boring rundown that PBS did, and I thought it was pretty good. But it's PBS Trump and Sovereignty. It's a long, long clip that could be interrupted a few times. But more importantly, I have clipped the speech itself.
Okay.
They left a lot of the good stuff out in this rundown, even though I thought it was a good rundown, but it was still oriented toward Trump promoting the way the guy kept saying it was so-called sovereignty.
So-called sovereignty? What, the Americans' so-called sovereignty?
Yeah, we have so-called sovereignty.
So-called. No, we don't. Have you seen the border?
So he has. So there was a down. It was pretty objective, except it would the angle was. It was like the angle of the story was downplayed. It was as though the guy's a lunatic. And yeah, he had a few good things to say, and he told a lot of these guys off. He was actually pretty mean-spirited in this speech.
He said a lot of nasty things.
And he wants to protect the country from, this global thing. He said globalism is bad.
Yeah.
But let's instead of going to that, let's go to Trump. And I have the Trump speech. This is the opener where somebody shouted something and then he joked about it and they got a laugh.
Today I stand before the United Nations General Assembly to share the extraordinary progress we've made. In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
The thing is, I can totally hear it from Dimension B. I can totally hear, they're laughing at him. What an idiot. I can hear it.
Well,
it's not hard. I mean,
it's easy to hear. And the Dimension B, you also have Trump his braggadocio thing really gets on their nerves. Because for one thing, he's bragging mostly about he's bragging about himself and his accomplishments, whatever they may or may not be. Some people say there are none. That's what Hillary had said, and she did so on the Colbert Show. I have a clip. Or if you think it's an accomplishment to put your foot down with the China trade and you put your foot down with loss of industry, and if you put your foot down about this and about that, some people think that's an accomplishment. Some people don't. They just assume this be a big global happy-go-lucky world governed thing and we're all going to be fine for it. And that split is – I think it's more the more I listen to this stuff and the more I do this show, I think that split is worse than we think it is. I think a good part of the American public would just as soon be part of a global government that's run by somebody in Brussels. Just like seriously.
You really think so?
I mean, half of Great Britain feels that way. Half of Great Britain thinks it's fine to let the Belgians tell us what to do. We'll be fine. We'll be happy as long as they send us a check once in a while.
I think most of those people have disengaged. They just disengage and they just someone else take care of it, and they really don't care. It's not a part of their life.
Yeah, and they don't care if some Belgian tells them what to do, which I find to be peculiar personally, but I'm an old fart, apparently. But let's let Trump finish up because he does have a few messages in this little ditty.
America's economy is booming like never before. Since my election, we've added $10 trillion in wealth. The stock market is at an all-time high in history. and jobless claims are at a 50-year low. African American, Hispanic American, and Asian American unemployment have all achieved their lowest levels ever recorded. We've added more than 4 million new jobs, including 500,000 manufacturing jobs. We have passed the biggest tax cuts and reforms in American history. We've started the construction of a major border wall, and we have greatly strengthened border security. We have secured record funding for our military, $700 billion this year, and $716 billion next year.
I find it very interesting how he says we have secured funding for the funding for the military. I mean, you forced us to pay for it, is what he's saying.
Well, it means they passed the bill. So
yeah, but secured. It's a little too business-likey for me.
Yeah, well, he's a businessy guy.
I know. He's just, but for me, it's like, hey, it's my money. I hate it when you spend it on that.
$15 billion next year. Our military will soon be more powerful than it has ever been before. In other words, the United States is stronger, safer, and a richer country than it was when I assumed office less than 2 years ago.
Okay.
Now, he starts to explain why, and why it's better is because, again, it's just basically he's put his foot down about one thing or another. And let's start with this short clip on migration.
Okay.
That is one reason the United States will not participate in the new global compact on migration. Migration should not be governed by an international body unaccountable to our own citizens.
What is he referring to? Does the UN want to do that?
Yeah.
They want to determine who can come into every country?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Ultimately, the only long-term solution to the migration crisis is to help people build more hopeful futures
and a wall
in their home countries.
Yeah.
Make their countries great again.
Hey, I could not find a clip anywhere, and the story just kind of went away. I believe the Dalai Lama, and I don't know where he was. He was in some other country. He came out and said, hey, people should go back to their own countries after a while. And that got completely snowed under.
Oh, you don't want to have that going on.
Dalai Lama is... this
is the global governance war right now. We're witnessing it.
Yeah.
And Trump is giving a speech about it. So let's listen to the socialism part of this.
Currently, we are witnessing a human tragedy, as an example, in Venezuela. More than 2 million people have fled the anguish inflicted by the socialist Maduro regime and its Cuban sponsors. Not long ago, Venezuela was one of the richest countries on earth. Today, socialism has bankrupted the oil-rich nation and driven its people into abject poverty. Virtually everywhere socialism or communism has been tried, it has produced suffering, corruption, and decay. Socialism's thirst for power leads to expansion, incursion, and oppression. All nations of the world should resist socialism and the misery that it brings to everyone.
We're well on our way here, though.
And they showed up. They had a camera on the Sweden.
Oh, really?
Delegate.
Well, the prime minister just got tossed out of Sweden.
Yeah.
So it's the new guy's coming in. He's going to have to form a government. That's
we'll
the great socialist country of Sweden. And just as a side note, the great socialist country of Denmark, which, as we know, is the best country in the world next to Sweden. Aren't they the happiest in the world? They're the best. Happy. Everything's free. It's all fantastic, except, their free health care also does not include dental or optical.
Oh, no.
Disappointment.
By the way, that last clip you heard would be played by no mainstream media.
Well, no. Why would we do that?
So now he goes on and on about global governance, and he specifically talks about He brings up right now, he's in the middle of talking about the ICC, the International Criminal Court. He says that we're not listening to these guys or any of these operations ever.
Which started with Bush, I believe. Isn't that when they
I don't know when
brought
it
it
came.
in? Yeah. We had the big dissent. Of course, Bush was a war criminal. They wanted to bring Cheney and Bush and everybody to the International Criminal Court.
Let's form an organization. Yeah.
I said, no, we're not recognizing that court that can send me to jail. No, of course we don't recognize that.
As far as America is concerned, the ICC has no jurisdiction, no legitimacy, and no authority. The ICC claims near universal jurisdiction over the citizens of every country, violating all principles of justice, fairness, and due process. We will never surrender America's sovereignty to an unelected, unaccountable global bureaucracy. America is governed by Americans. We reject the ideology of globalism, and we embrace the doctrine of patriotism. Around the world, responsible nations must defend against threats to sovereignty, not just from global governments, but also from other new forms of coercion and domination.
What new forms of coercion and domination would that be?
Now, well,
I know, Space Force.
The subtext of that message was Brexit.
Yeah. Gotcha.
We're not going to submit to some bonehead bureaucrat someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really a message to the bureaucrats. Now, the nut of this whole thing, I think, though, even though this is all this...
was China, no doubt.
It's the China thing. And I have the China part of it, and it is extremely rough. He is rough on China, and he leads into it in a very interesting way. This, again, was not produced on any mainstream media.
And just yesterday, I stood with President Moon to announce the successful completion of the brand new U.S.-Korea trade deal. And this is just the beginning. Many nations in this hall will agree that the world trading system is in dire need of change. For example, countries were admitted to the World Trade Organization that violate every single principle on which the organization is based. While the United States and many other nations play by the rules, these countries use government-run industrial planning and state-owned enterprises to rig the system in their favor. They engage in relentless product dumping, forced technology transfer, and the theft of intellectual property. The United States lost over 3 million manufacturing jobs, nearly a quarter of all steel jobs, and 60,000 factories after China joined the WTO. And we have racked up $13 trillion in trade deficits over the last 2 decades. But those days are over. We will no longer tolerate such abuse. We will not allow our workers to be victimized, our companies to be cheated, and our wealth to be plundered and transferred. America will never apologize for protecting its citizens. The United States has just announced tariffs on another $200 billion in Chinese-made goods, for a total so far of $250 billion. I have great respect and affection for my friend, President Xi, but I have made clear our trade imbalance is just not acceptable. China's market distortions and the way they deal cannot be tolerated. As my administration has demonstrated, America will always act in our national interests.
He has only 2 speeds.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's a style. He's got 2 styles. The conversational style is a lot different.
Right, but what happens when he's in this slow speed is he starts to slur and words don't come out right. But when he's talking like this and that and China, then everything it's a thing with him. He has to be loud, and otherwise it doesn't come out right.
Yeah,
that's how you get anonymous. That's how you get that stuff.
Well, he had that long S. You heard it.
Yeah, it was nice. I like that.
And but this was his throwing down the gauntlet right here. This particular element.
Hold on. Can I just stay with China for a second? I'd just like to go back to his presser, where he also said something about China with new information. Is that okay? And then we'll come back to this.
Yeah.
Earlier today and just now, you made a significant allegation against the Chinese government. You suggested that the Chinese had meddled in or are meddling.
That's right. That's what I hear.
Midterm election.
That's what I hear.
What evidence do you have of that, sir? Is there a national
We have evidence. We have evidence. It'll come out. Yeah, I can't tell you now, but it didn't come out of nowhere, that I can tell you. Now, they've actually admitted that they're going after farmers. I mean, I think most of you can cover that. I like that you're shaking your head. Yes, I'm going to ask you the next question because of that, okay? It's probably going to be the killer of all questions. But let me just explain.
If you're not prepared to come forward with the evidence, sir.
China now, we put on $250 billion, and they're paying 25% on that. They're paying billions and billions. This has never happened to China. And I like China, and I like President Xi a lot. I think he's a friend of mine. He may not be a friend of mine anymore, but I think he probably respects. From what I hear, if you look at Mr. Pillsbury, the leading authority on China, he was on a good show. I won't mention the name of the show.
He does this a lot. He said, I won't mention the network. I won't mention the name of the show. I won't mention the person. Why does he do that? What is this? It's like a tick. Whenever he mentions something in the media,
there's a reason. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure we could figure out what it is, but I don't know off the top of my head. But he probably gets criticized for it's Fox.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I got you.
On China, he was on a good show. I won't mention the name of the show recently, and he was saying that China has total respect for Donald Trump and for Donald Trump's very, very large brain. He said Donald Trump.
That's the quote of the year. So
there's some documentation to back it up.
The Chinese,
and every time they go ask the Chinese people, they go into China and start asking around. They all love this guy,
and they think he has a big brain. But yet, the way this was turned around, and again, I just go get clip after clip if you want. Donald Trump said he has a big brain. No, it's not what he. But it's fantastic. I wish someone had said that about me. I'd be saying that all day. Hey, the Chinaman over there said I got a big brain. Fantastic. All right, that was my intermezzo.
Well,
China.
I just stopped there because it was like he makes. Let's summarize what he said there. And I forgot to clip that myself. I'm glad you got it.
Yeah, he said they're meddling in our elections.
The Chinese have said they're going to meddle in the elections, and they have better capability, or at least as good a capability as the Russians.
John, they've already done it in Iowa. He referred to the farmers. In Iowa, they took out an ad in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's against the election rules.
Yes. And so there are the newspaper gladly take the money.
Of course, there's.
So the Chinese don't like Trump, and they want to put this back on the globalist track.
Yeah,
if possible. And the more I think about it, listening to his speech at the UN, is that it's a pretty daunting thing he's trying to do, which is to get us and the PBS reporter
stop globalism.
Stop the globalization of everything, which by the way was also a major trend before World War I.
I have to hear the PBS stuff now because I'll bet it's dynamite.
Now that you've heard that, I do have one more. I have a Homeland pitch, which I have as a -1, which means a clip I can drop. So let's drop that.
Let's drop that, and then
that's the PBS clip is long, but you can interrupt it and we can talk about it. And you can see you can see the difference in what Trump was doing and what they say he's doing. They have a lot of his clips in there, not the best ones.
Well, presumably the world press documented what he actually said at the United Nations General Assembly. Presumably they listened to what he said and didn't just stop after the first minute saying, "Ha, we've got the soundbite." Ha, ha, ha. They're laughing at him. We're done. All right, everybody. That's a wrap.
Yeah.
And spoke to the United Nations today and sought again to explain his America First views to the rest of the world and to outline threats as he sees them.
That's it right there. He wasn't talking about America First. He was saying not globalism. I think there's a nuance
you can interpret. No, I disagree.
Okay.
I think you could. He wasn't talking about, but you can interpret it because he was saying we want to protect our sovereignty, we want to protect our people, we want to protect our sovereignty, we want to protect our borders, we want to protect ourselves from this, and we don't want to get ripped off. We don't want you just. You put it all together. Oh, America first.
Okay, got it.
But as Nick Schifrin reports from the UN, Mr. Trump's U.S. above all philosophy was being challenged repeatedly by other leaders.
Above all, Hitler reference.
President Trump walked into a room he once chastised as a club where people have a good time and rejected the UN's internationalism for renewed nationalism.
That sovereign and independent nations are the only vehicle where freedom has ever survived. Democracy has ever endured, where peace has ever prospered.
But among the world's highest-level gathering of leaders, what President Trump calls sovereignty has been deeply unpopular. He pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement signed by 196 countries. He pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal negotiated with Europe. And over Arab and European objections, he moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. The president calls those decisions achievements, but they got him off to an inauspicious start.
In less than 2 years, my administration...
What does inauspicious mean?
Rocky.
...has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country.
Someone in the audience yells something and laughs.
So true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
But President Trump was unapologetic and repeatedly defended his worldview.
We reject the ideology of globalism, and we embrace the doctrine of patriotism.
It was left to Europe to defend multilateralism. French President Emmanuel Macron spoke for nearly 40 minutes and called President Trump's reference to sovereignty a veil for unilateralism.
It leads directly to the isolationism into conflict, generalized clashes, men against men. Do not accept the erosion of multilateralism. Don't accept our history unraveling.
Multilateralism, unilateral. So are these just different words for globalism and nationalism?
Not really, but it's like a stepping stone to the other words. It's very what Macron's bitching about when he keeps talking about unilateralism. I mean, you act on your own for your own benefit. Okay. In other words, you do a deal with somebody, you just do the deal. Multilateralism, obviously, you have a whole bunch of people get together.
It means you're not.
They all agree to do something together.
It means you're not considerate. You're not considerate of other people.
And the Brexit thing, of course, which is really a subtext to all of this. Mm-hmm. The people that are Brexiteers are this is turning Britain back into a unilateral company. They got to do their own deals. They got to, instead of working as a collective. You could use the words, I think, simultaneous or parallel to collectivism.
Okay.
Trump's anti-collectivist.
Right.
And we want to be collectivist where we all get together, multilateral. We're all going to be one big kumbaya. We can have one guy running the whole world. That's what we want. One guy running the whole world. That's the way to go.
I'm not getting used to this, and I'm not turning my
think Hitler.
What could possibly go wrong?
Head to it. Our children are watching.
Macron received an extended ovation, as did UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who warned against what he called authoritarianism and implicitly criticized President Trump's policy of separating children at the U.S. border.
This is like going to Starfleet Command and just shouting.
I find it incredibly abhorrent that the head of the UN, this guy, the assigned, the guy who's the
he's the new,
that he would bring this separating children thing out, which we've done, and most people know began in the 90s as a court ordered opinion that had to be enforced.
Stop! No, you're wrong, because now we're ripping them out of their mother's arms. It's different.
And the court-ordered opinion, and which was in play during the entire Obama administration, and he deported a lot of people that weren't discussed too much, and there was none of this going on. For this guy to essentially lie to this audience is beyond me. I don't understand how come the press isn't all over this, but no.
You're putting the League of Nations very high on a pedestal, Mr. Dvorak.
Guterres, who warned against what he called authoritarianism and implicitly criticized President Trump's policy of separating children at the U.S. border.
Those who see their neighbors as dangerous may cause a threat where there was none. Those who close their borders to regular migration only fuel the work of traffickers.
The Iranian regime robs its own people to pay for death and destruction abroad.
Across town, the U.S.'s top diplomat and national security advisor appeared before a group that's advocated for Iranian regime change. The U.S. is pursuing a pressure campaign against Iran that's driven Iran's currency to record lows and flooded currency exchanges. Iran is also coping with protests by Iranians criticizing government corruption. Today, President Trump suggested he was forcing Iran to negotiate.
Iran is a much different country today than it was a year ago. I think that at some point we will have meaningful discussions and probably do a deal. I don't see how it works for them otherwise.
Europeans are meeting with Iran to try and get around U.S. sanctions, but many companies, including European Airbus, have pulled out of Iran.
Did they not have any sound bites of Rouhani? I heard him.
No, Rouhani's coming up.
Oh. And today, Iran's president, Hassan Rouhani, rejected dialogue with the U.S.
It's ironic that the U.S. does not even conceal its plan for overthrowing the same government it invites to talks. On what basis and criteria can we enter into a negotiation with such a government?
All day, President Trump did the rounds and gave toasts to the UN. But he did not spare his criticism, including against historic U.S. allies. He says rip off the U.S. on trade and defense.
We defend many of these nations for nothing.
And foreign aid.
Moving forward, we are only going to give foreign aid to those who respect us and, frankly, are our friends.
The Western Europeans, the Canadians, the UN itself will continue to talk about multilateralism. But their leaders have continuously failed to convince President Trump to change course. And they admit they can't preserve what's been called the Western liberal order on their own without the
thank
U.S.
Goodness.
And so the best thing they could do is buy time, as the U.S. focuses on what it calls sovereignty.
I was wondering if we were going to get a liberal world order in there, but I like the Western liberal order.
Did
That's
you
good
listen
too.
to the little last sentence he had?
I probably didn't hear it.
Play the end of it again so you can get that sovereignty thing in there.
Oh, yeah, I did
The
hear
president
that.
spoke to the United Nations.
Own without the U.S. And so the best thing they could do is buy time, as the U.S. focuses on what it calls sovereignty. Judy?
what it calls sovereignty. Because we have no sovereignty.
Dick.
This is
Dick report.
By the way, this is exactly what's happening with Poland right now, where the Starfleet Command Council and Timmermans leading the way are cracking down on Poland, because Poland essentially is going to gerrymander their justices, their judges, by changing the retirement age. So 27 of the 72 have to retire, and that's being seen as meddling in the justice system. And so they already pulled out an Article 7 card on Poland, and Poland went, whatever. And so now it's a showdown, and now they're going to cut off money to Poland. And the whole idea of the European Union, I was there when they sold it, was, you have your own laws, you can do your own thing. We're just don't pay no attention. We're just over here up on the top. Send us your money. And now they're putting
it's all about
boot
trade.
Down. Yes, of course.
It's all about
it's
trade.
All about money. All about money.
Well, that's what it's really about. Yeah, but now a couple of things he mentioned in there. The Trump and his foreign aid. He says this is not. Oh my God, what is he saying? We're not going to give foreign aid to people who hate us. This was a campaign promise.
Yeah. It was.
And the Republicans, by the way, the Republican base has been, if you read any of the conservative literature, for decades they've been bitching and moaning. Why are we giving money to our enemies? Why did we just give even though a lot of the money we're giving in so-called foreign aid is really part of the economic hitman scheme.
Yes.
Used to lock people down. So, it's not necessarily as simple as he likes to make it out, even though the base loves it. The other one was the comment from Rouhani of the narrator about what Rouhani was talking about, saying that they just need to buy time. In other words, this globalist thing is bigger than Trump.
Just wait until we get rid of him, then we'll continue on our merry way.
We'll be back on track and moving the jobs back to China and putting the American public into poverty. It'd be fantastic.
That seems kind of the plan. Yeah.
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 Because that way, they're going to vote Democrat because poor people do that.
But I mean, just look at our own country. I don't see the change, John. I don't see it's not going to happen. Trump can jump up and down, and let's just say it's down the middle. So 50% are like, yeah, this is how we like it, and this is great, and this is America, and this is what we feel like. And the other half are just always, always, always going to be completely hating it, and that's done forever. I don't see that. I don't see that changing.
If the education system persists on not teaching American history, that's what we're going to end up with. There's a bunch of kids who don't like the country. They like themselves more than anything else. They get a lot of self-esteem. This newest group, the Z group that we talked about earlier in the show, is a real bad sign. It doesn't bode well.
It does not bode well at all. Yeah.
Okay, now I want to give you an update.
Okay, we do have to take a break, but I'm letting you slide.
No, after the break, Well,
that's all right. Do the update.
Okay, there's probably 20 cops still blocking the same thing, and since for at least a half an hour, there has been a fire ambulance and a fire truck just sitting there.
Turn on the scanner
for something.
Turn on the scanner, John.
And it's just a bunch of, and they're waiting. It's like I'm guessing somebody's got a bomb, or they're going to blow themselves up, and I have no idea because it looks like a bomb action.
Are you safe though, John? Are you safe out there? Stay safe.
I think so.
Stay safe. Okay. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, John C. John C. Dvorak, who put the C in ICC. Dvorak. There we go.
You got some out of that. In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning to all the boots on the ground, the feet in the air, the subs in the water, and all the dames and all the knights out there.
In the morning to the troll room, noagendastream.com. Our trolls, always there. You can depend on them, trolling away, being very helpful and sometimes not helpful. And we love them just as much. Also in the morning to Darren O'Neill. He is the artist for the album art for episode 1071. The title of 1071 was Kami Komi. And Darren, there was a lot of good art, actually.
Yeah, that was a lot of good art.
It was a tough one. We liked what Darren had done with the No Agenda stencils on the tents, which is our latest get-rich-quick scheme.
Yeah, the exit strategy.
Yeah, our exit strategy. I'm not quite sure how it's going to exit us. I think we basically wind up
promoting the show. We're done.
Oh, okay. We promote the show. Once the show has been promoted sufficiently, we might get onto iTunes, into the charts. Yeah. But we liked it a lot. So thank you very much, Darren. And Darren also is one of a number of people, including a 9-year-old producer, who has been working on downloading the entire archive. So we have a number of backup copies across the network, which is fantastic. And Darren, I think we have like GitHub scripts and stuff that'll scrape it. So I feel pretty safe now. Feel pretty safe. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. And that's just to have a backup. It's all of this stuff is a part of our value for value system, our value network. We have producers who create incredible things. No Agenda Player, for instance, although, let me just check, noagendaplayer.com, not feeling too good about what's happening there.
Yeah, it apparently is not keeping up.
Yeah, it stopped at 1063, so that's the downside of the value network.
Yeah, well, that happens.
I wish, it's a great resource. We have our search website, search.nashownotes.com, all kinds of great stuff. But as I said, the artists are incredibly important because when you see that list of new shows, we always have fresh album art, catches people's eye, reminds them that there's a new show, catches people and brings them in who have never heard the show before. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. Thank you very much. All our artists and Darren O'Neill.
So we have 4 people to thank today, 2 executive producers and 2 associates, which is a balanced attack. Sir Slotcar, Baron of all podunks in Loomis, California, which is in itself a podunk, $324. And he says 4 times 81. I did have a special deal, PC Magazine.
Yeah, let's just stop for a second. Yes, you had a special deal for the FPC Magazine, which is the $81 donation. But something I did not know in the essay that accompanied the newsletter is that it now appears that you are not just fired for being an alt-right Trump apologist. I just like slipping that in.
Thanks.
No, what happened is you wrote, it wasn't like it was just an article, an opinion on 5G, and you said, hey, there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been fleshed out yet. Until that gets fleshed out, the public's probably not going to want this. And that article,
that was the column in a nutshell.
Yeah, and it was, it wasn't like an iPad's going to fail type article or anything. It was just, it was a good observation. And
thanks for that remembrance.
Come on, man.
It was actually a report. It was more reporting than column.
Yes, I agree.
Because
more
I was
like
talking about all these different sources that were saying, well, 5G doesn't do this, doesn't do that, doesn't do that. So I wrote this column, and then 3 weeks later, I got fired, and then the column goes missing. And
that's
so it disappears. Odd. And then links to the column go to another column written by another writer that's extolling the virtues of 5G.
It's interesting. Your original column is on the Wayback Machine, and it's in the show notes, of course.
Yeah, it's also, you can find it.
Yeah.
It's also PC Mag Australia and PC Mag UK still have it up.
See how long that lasts.
It could be for a while because they still have the wrong bio and everything at those places. But the point is that now I'm wondering, wait a minute, what? Yeah, and by the way, I sent a note to all editors. I got no response on any of this when I said, hey, this column's gone. Why? They could have said, because it sucks. I mean, you don't do that. Usually if it sucks, it doesn't get put on in the first place.
I think we have to put in a FOIA request.
This was August 22nd is when the column ran. So then I'm thinking, well, this is obviously somebody, some advertiser.
That's what I'm thinking.
Came up and said, hey, you guys, I thought you were on board with this, what we're up to here.
Well,
what is this
you know who
doing?
the biggest advertiser is in America? And who is doing 5G? Isn't it Verizon? Verizon's bigger than AT&T.
Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile are all on board.
Yeah.
And so I said, what is this idiot doing here? This isn't working. This isn't really part of the situation. This is not going to be.
And in an odd way, John, it comes back to Hearst and Hearst's opinion about lifestyle magazines or whatever. Ziff, I'm sorry. That, if you're going to have a magazine and it's all, look at PC Magazine. It's really more about phones than anything. There's a lot of phone stuff in there. And then they'll do a gaming board.
There's nothing about PC.
Accelerator. Anymore. There's not much about PC, but the big push is going to be 5G, and Verizon is rolling out their campaign now as we speak. So it's obvious they can't have an opinionated writer.
Said, well, you can get rid of the column, but what about this guy that's Thorne? This guy, we'll fire him.
Yeah, we'll get rid of him. Don't worry about it. He's old anyway.
That is what I have to conclude, since nobody will return an email.
That's right. Unless they, we should have Senate hearings about this.
And this, please stop demuning.
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to keep it light. I'm all in. I'm with you.
The point is that we need to emphasize is this is how it works today. That's why our value for value model at PC Magazine is so important. This is why we ask you, even though there's still nobody to fire us here, but we'd still have to give in to a big advertiser. Well, I don't think you guys should be saying mean things. Yeah. Meanwhile, of course, now that I'm free, I'm going to start looking into this 5G thing. It doesn't look like a good idea at all.
No, it's going to rip your DNA to shreds.
The wrong guy here. Maybe they'd come and knock it and drop off a check or something for $1 million. I won't do it.
Well,
it's not going to happen.
If it's $1 million, if he's make it even $2 million, we can consider it as an exit.
I thought our minimum was 5.
But.
5 million. 5 million. We stopped the show.
But
that's how corruptible we are.
Yes, for 5 million we're corruptible. But it is true.
But the point is that everybody's corruptible. That's why we don't have advertisers.
And I think this is actually more. We're joking around a little bit, but for them to just forget about you being fired. Although I can't because it hurts my heart. But to remove your article and link, so your link has been replaced.
Yeah.
It resolves to this new positive article. To me, that goes beyond certainly because of the content of your piece, it goes beyond just the advertiser. There's something else going on. They don't want this discussed. They don't want this part of it and that's probably in the briefing. It's like when Gillette was my client. We never talk about how long the blades last, ever. Because they last a long time. But, that little strip that they put on there is to fool you into thinking it's time for a new one. So that's the directive. And I think this is very big.
Well, the other part of this was, I think, if you can find the old column, you read the comments. There's about 3 or 4 people in there that seem very knowledgeable. And they are going on and on and on and on and on about stuff. And I'm thinking maybe the comments had some choice tidbit that needed to go, because that could be. And so you got to get rid of the column. You got to get rid of the comments. You got to get rid of the guy who wrote the column. You got to get rid of everybody you can. Yeah. And so I was looking at the comments. There's some very interesting new material in there. So I really think this 5G thing, and it's going to be the other thing about this column. It was one of the few columns of late where a newspaper from some municipality wrote in and said, hey, we got to reprint this column because 5G is being rolled out in our town and we don't like it.
Right.
And so they got to reprint
it. It was the fire department who didn't want the antenna on their roof. That's where it really started, because we did that story.
Yeah, but this was something. This is another area.
Okay, all right.
And so this column got reprinted in the magazine, in the newspapers, and I think that was probably how it
started to roll, became a problem.
Because these guys, none of these guys in these telecom companies read PC Magazine or anything else for that matter, but they will read the local papers.
Yes,
still they're old fashioned.
Yeah.
And I think that's may have drawn its attention to the column and then the comments. So it was a sorry situation, but this is what happens in media today when you have native ads in the New York Times.
Yes.
So and a bunch of skewed opinions and everything else in between. So this is why it's so important that people help us keep this show going straight up without having underwriters or advertisers or anything,
whatever you want to call them.
So let's thank thank Sir Slotcar, Baron of all Podunks. Onward to Mark Empson. All Podunks, by the way. Mark Empson in Plainville, Connecticut, $300. I cannot find an email from him. You might want to look. And while you're looking, James Rogers from Wilmington, Delaware, $250, and he did write something, but it wasn't for this. Wasn't for this donation.
No, I have nothing from Mark.
Jim Rogers just sent a link to the Leroy Van Dyke, the auctioneer, some time back, but he never.
Okay. Well, it's an NJNK then, I guess. Yeah, I'm just going to give some karma for all these people right now.
You've got karma.
For being executive producers.
Yes. And finally, Sandra Langston right there in Austin, Texas.
Aha.
Yeah. She comes in with $200, will be the associate executive producer. Need a title change, went for subtle and ended up in the weeds. Please change to Dame Dang It All from Dame Mello. This is Dame Mello out of Austin.
Okay. Dame Dang It All.
Dame Dang It All.
Nice.
Many thanks. Send an email to John, but you might get a kick out of living in Europe has become a living hell of double-clicking every dang cookie warning because of the new regs.
That's true.
Yes, this is stupid.
Yeah.
You got to accept cookies, or you got to click on this.
Well, sometimes it's 2 or 3 clicks before you get to the content, and you know that at least on one of those clicks you're agreeing to everything the way it used to be.
Yeah, of course.
It's nothing different. Okay.
But by the way, so if she's in Europe, living in Europe has become a living. Yes, she must be in Europe at the moment.
Yeah,
and that means we have the same thing here now. We have these click, click, click. Anyway, insult is added when the newsletter is redacted because of meme blocking.
Mm.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'll see that when it happens. I don't think that'll happen.
Meme blocking.
Yeah, that's
what are these people?
That's the new European law. That's Section 10, and
you can't have memes.
Yes, yeah.
A picture with a caption is what we referring to here.
Yeah, it's some funny picture. It's no, that's all about the Google link tax. But they throw in some memes. Everyone's all upset about that. Like, oh, you won't be able to do memes. What?
So a note to Adam, she writes, here in the dark reaches of southern Italy, which is where she is, we have had, clears her throat, quite excellent internet for some time now, and running water. Oh, and goats. We can give her a goat karma for that.
Yeah, I got that.
You've got karma.
And that'll be our associate executives and executive producers for show 1072.
Yes, thank you. These are credits that are absolutely accepted everywhere if people are into credits. And then they are real. Executive producer, associate executive producer of the No Agenda Show, episode 1072, displayed proudly. And thank you very much for all of your courages for supporting us today. And we look forward to thanking more people, $50 and above in our second segment. And reminder that we have the show twice a week. Next one's on Sunday. You can support us there at
Dvorak.org/NA.
You come for the deconstruction, but you definitely stay for the stories. Pass it on.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth. Order!
Yay! Shut up, slave.
Got a note from Dame Elise Garling.
Yeah.
Let's just share that for a moment. Hey guys, in Bristol Bay, have what?
The Bass Girl.
No. She's not the Bass Girl. She's she's the Dame Elise Garling, limoncello babe, hot Alaskan fisher chick.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
The Bass Girl. She's in Bristol Bay having some fun shooting ducks and picking berries on the tundra. Fishing season well over. Want to let you guys know we're keeping you guys are keeping me company out here as I picked lingonberries, crowberries, and blues. Had quite a few. Yes.
Yeah, she's got the brother who's friends of the guy who owns the bar in Ballard. We're going to have the next meetup in Seattle.
Yeah, she's going to send some Alaska salmon to us. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
Oh, definitely.
It's the best there is.
And also, we now have mockingbirdlist.com. Mockingbirdlist.com.
Oh, yes, right. The people that are suspected of being
in some form of CIA Mockingbird program.
Or FBI, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been very taken aback ever since it turned out that Bob Woodward was working for the FBI all this time, which was revealed in WikiLeaks and brought up in some other document.
Yeah.
And so we always thought CIA, so we were wrong.
Right.
I do have an Ask Adam quiz.
Okay. Do I need to get the jingle?
I got a little. Yeah. Let's get the jingle.
Okay, let's get the jingle. I'm excited. I'm slow today because of the.
Yeah, you're clogged.
I'm totally clogged today. Here we go.
Then protect.
No, that's not it. That's the best part. Now here's the jingle. It's a different jingle, but it. Oh, God. Ask Adam. All right, it's time to play Ask Adam, where John has some kind of clip and he wants to ask me a question about it.
I want you to name this movie.
Besides, that whole rap of yours is bull anyway. Good, evil, it's all the same crap. Rock and roll is the only thing that counts. Dig, hard ass, blistering, awesome, heavy metal, rock, and roll.
We'll see.
One of my favorites. That would not be a movie. That would be Swamp Thing with me and Rick Manetti from Magnum P.I., the other star of that episode. Did you see the whole thing?
God, no.
Oh, there's some good acting in there, man.
Oh yeah.
Who gave that? Wait. Who gave that to you? Who gave that to you? Jay?
No, I found it.
Oh, okay.
Talk about good acting. There's new series are now out, and one of them, which they're brought. I don't know why Dick Wolf is doing this, but he's got one called FBI.
Yeah, it's the reboot, isn't it?
Reboot. Well, it's kind of a reboot, but it's like really over dramatized, and it's got a lot of weird stuff in it. So I have 3 things that I clipped. Very short clips. 20 seconds.
Oops.
Wait.
No, I'm sorry.
I want you to play FBI show, this one, genomic phenotyping. I want you to listen very carefully to this.
Ran it. Didn't match any DNA that we have on file.
So best evidence we got and we can't use it?
Hey, no, I didn't say that. You ever heard of genomic phenotyping? The Bureau is doing amazing work on it. It's a bioinformatics software that pulls genetic information from blood samples to generate a physical profile.
And gives us what? A description of someone?
Well, if you're lucky, you get a sketch.
Can't wait for from blood. We can see what someone looks like. That's great.
Yeah. Wow. What bull crap.
It says you didn't. FBI, man. They're not going to tell you everything. What do you know?
So there's a vague reference to Godwin's law, and it was like somehow it went for Godwin's law, which says that every internet discussion always ends up with Hitler.
With someone's Hitler, yeah.
At the end. But no. No, they've rewritten it. Here it is.
Before you guys started here, we got close to tying that attack to Robert Lawrence.
Robert Lawrence. Why does that name sound familiar?
Because you've seen him on TV. He's the guy they always put on when they want the alt-right to seem legit.
Yeah, but if you listen closely to his dog whistles, the guy's a Nazi.
Are you familiar with Godwin's law? It's the idea that the end point of any intellectual debate is one party calling the other a Nazi. I'm not a Nazi.
You prefer white nationalist?
Huh.
So
they're rewriting that. That's not what God would.
No, it's not what they rewrote it.
No, we should probably
they
look
used
at
a dog whistle thing in there, which I thought was weird. And then the last clip.
Hold on, can you just give me 1 second? I just want to get the actual definition of Godwin's law.
Sure.
Godwin's law definition is an internet adage asserting that, quote, as an online discussion grows longer, the probability of comparison involving Hitler approaches 1. That is, if an online discussion goes on long enough, sooner or later, someone will compare someone to Hitler. Yeah, that's not the same. But Dick Wolf, I mean, but the show, when I remember the FBI back in the day, which must have been late 60s, 70s, it would always be perpetrator, the FBI, guys in suits in like a really boxy looking Ford would go find stop, FBI. The perpetrator turns around, fires a shot, misses the FBI. FBI, poof, poof, 2 shots, boom, he's down. Every single episode went like that. And then we had the FBI looking like goofballs during...
Which is why I think the FBI looking like goofballs was very much a part of the Law and Order series.
90s.
Which makes me think that somebody went up to Dick Wolf and said, look, you've made us look like goofballs long enough. You're doing this show.
They
you're going to make us look smart.
The FBI doesn't need any help looking like goofballs.
But again, they look like goofballs in this show with the genomic phenotyping.
No, I think that makes them look cool and hip and like CSI.
Unless you know anything.
Hello? Look, no one knows anything anymore.
So now it turns out, this is the last clip. This is the phone battery clip. It turns out that what you want when you use a phone to detonate a bomb, you want the phone to blow up. And that's the detonator for the bomb.
No, that makes no sense.
No, that's the way it works. You don't understand anything.
I just got the report back from the explosives lab. The phone our bomb maker used as a trigger was a Hansma 2600. The same kind of phones you guys found in Bernardo's hideout. It's old, cheap technology sold mostly in Asia 10 to 15 years ago.
Why would the bomb maker want to use that?
Because batteries back then didn't have good temperature sensors or fail-safe, so they ignited more easily.
You got deep on this.
By the time I'm done, I'll be able to build one of these things, which I knew we'd seen once before.
Well... It doesn't seem like you press the button and then it overheats really quickly and blows up.
No. That's the way it works. These old phones, these 15-year-old phones, is like a promotion for modern phones.
Oh.
Those old phones will blow up after a year.
Oh, not the new Samsung? Interesting. Geez.
Yeah, the phone blows up and there goes the bomb, and that's what you want. This was an unbelievable show in terms of like, I can't imagine anyone not being very upset by this dialogue.
Well, I do need to tie in phone for a second. I don't know what's going on, but I had to go back to the Nokia E71. I've gotten off of the Kyocera,
What happened?
Battery life. Just battery life is not sufficient. It'll last for a day just sitting idle.
No. Those old phones supposed to last days.
But this is not
almost
an old.
a week.
But this is not an old. That's the point. This is not an old phone. This is a new phone.
What are they doing to tap the battery?
Well, it's
tracking.
It's just first of all, the battery. Yeah, maybe the battery is very small. It's tiny, and so I went back. The E71, the battery is almost the entire size of the phone itself.
Yeah, it's huge.
And I've had this on now for 48 hours, and I'm still at. Looks like about 70%.
Yeah.
Which is what you want. And interestingly enough, even though it was 4G LTE with a modern HTML5 browser, using the Opera browser on the Nokia E71 is just faster. It's faster. And it's 3G. It's not 4G or anything like that. So the only problem and the keyboard. I really miss the keyboard. Because everyone, predictive text. No, predictive text sucks. Because you can't switch, you can't throw in a Dutch word. I do all kinds of things. You can't do slang. It's just not handy. But the actual keyboard of the E71 is it's still the best phone. And there's much less spying because it's Symbian, which is dead. Well, open source actually. Anyone can go and build. I'd buy that, a 4G phone with Symbian. Anyway,
well, it's a sad day. Sad day.
That's not really a sad day. The E71 is just better.
Yeah, but they don't make it anymore.
No, I do have one more coming today, which is some other flip phone that was the first one with KaiOS before Google got into it. So it's very hard. I just want a phone that doesn't interrupt me, does phone call, text, and I just want a browser. I don't need email, anything, just a browser. That's all you need. It's all you need. And that and love.
All right. I did find one of our producers sent me a clip. He's in North Carolina. He says, yes, the national news is not covering the poop.
The pig poop.
From the pigs.
The pig poop, yes.
The pig poop. And he said, but the NPR did have a story on. He sent me a copy of the story, which I have. And if you listen to carefully, it is a good discussion of pig poop with some guy that's the river guy. I don't know. And they leave one interesting fact or point of interest completely out of the story. I want to see if you can identify it.
The flooding from Hurricane Florence washed over livestock farms. And when it did, and this will make some people cringe, the floodwater swept away many animals and their waste, all of which ended up in rivers such as the Cape Fear River. Kemp Burdett is the Cape Fear River Keeper, a position he was given by an environmental nonprofit group, and he's on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
What have you seen as you've toured the area?
I flew yesterday in a small plane over parts of the Cape Fear watershed, and widespread damage, widespread flooding. Floodwaters are still rising in some areas. I saw numerous swine lagoons that had been completely inundated and overtopped by floodwaters. I saw 2 lagoons that had failed altogether and emptied their contents entirely into floodwaters.
Swine lagoons, we're talking about giant pits of animal waste. Is that right?
Exactly. Estimates are that these 2 lagoons held about 7 million gallons of untreated swine feces. And when they emptied their contents into waterways that were flooded, of course, those flooded waters are going to move downstream across the communities that are flooded there as well.
Okay, you're going to need to help me.
This report goes on, and right to the end, it talks about the dangers of this poop in the water and people wandering around back to their houses are going to be contaminated forever. It goes on and on and on. And it's a mess. There's not one mention of the stink.
Huh.
Throughout the entire report, nobody says, this stinks. This stinks to high heaven.
That's interesting, yeah.
I don't know why. And this guy, River Keeper, that was assigned this title by some nonprofit. So I guess we can start assigning titles to people like River Keeper.
Yeah. We have the keeper.
Yeah, you have the keeper, but she's not. It's a different use of the word keeper.
Yes. You mean like we have knights and dames, and we do have some of this, you know?
Yeah, we have some, but we don't have these.
River,
we don't have
river
more
keeper.
spiritual ones.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like
okay.
River keeper.
Well, we can install a new river keeper level.
We could. I don't know where it would go, how it would work.
I don't know either. But if someone wants to be river keeper, I'm okay with that.
But anyway, so the poop is everywhere, and it's like it's contaminating the whole state. But they never mentioned that
any smell.
Pig poop stinks.
It does. I mean, I've been around farms. It does. But maybe no. I don't know.
I don't know.
Our producer didn't mention any of that in his note about the stench.
No, actually, he didn't. It's funny.
See?
He didn't mention anything.
Well, we'll find out now.
And in the black trunks, weighing in at over 3,000 troops, the ISIS of virus, the killer from Nigeria, Ebola!
That's right, everybody. Ebola is back. And whenever Ebola rears its ugly head, we are on watch here at the No Agenda Show because, you know, they love to send in troops to keep everybody calm, but there's maybe something going on. I don't know. Doctors with Borders are involved. Red alert.
An alert for Ebola rings out over the streets of Beni in the northeastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The death toll is rising. For 3 weeks, the community has been on alert, but in this conflict-ridden corner of the DRC, it's hard to control the virus.
This disease called Ebola is already close to us, so customers are not wearing helmets. We were told that it can spread through the sweat, and our helmets are shared by our customers, so we're telling customers not to wear them.
In the last 2 weeks, nearly 1,300 people have been vaccinated. Congo's National Institute for Biomedical Research is also testing a new drug for Ebola patients made in the US. 10 patients have received it and responded well.
When we went to Mangina, there were 5 or 6 patients and 2 in a severe state. I said we need to treat everyone. We can't only administer to the less serious cases. Some of them were very serious, and in particular, a child who had bloody stools, and after this treatment, he is now recovering slowly.
The DRC had just emerged from another Ebola outbreak some 2,000 kilometres away in Bakoro in the west. It was declared over in July, just a week before this one was discovered. 33 people died. It was the first time an Ebola vaccine was used in an outbreak and was credited with containing the spread. This time will be more challenging. Cases are spread across 2 of the most populated provinces in the country. They share borders with Uganda and Rwanda, and it's an active conflict zone between rebel and government forces.
This epidemic in North Kivu is going to bring a lot of surprises. It's not like the earlier epidemic in the West. The number of cases is going up and the number of infected zones is increasing, so it will take a long time to control this epidemic.
I really like this report for a number of reasons, because it's a signaling report to me. This is signaling what is going to happen next. We had 33 in there. I'll just throw in the 33 dead, and Ben, you have my attention. We had the fear of it spreading through helmets, just so that tells the population, like, be afraid population. And these are the taxi motorcycles. So, don't, by the way, I would never want to put on someone else on a motorcycle taxi. I'm going to wear some stanky helmet. We had that. We had the vaccine, which is hopeful. Although I thought that was all done and taken care of, and didn't we pay for it? And then we had all these emergency vaccines the last time this bull crap went down. We sent thousands of troops. But this is different. This is the Democratic Republic of Congo.
I want to mention something.
Mm-hmm.
They had the vaccine, which is one way of preventing it, and then they had some drug that I don't know anything about.
I don't know anything about it either. They just some new drug that they have that pops up. There's all kinds, but
and they specifically said from the United States.
Yeah.
They didn't have to say that.
Oh no. Well, the Democratic Republic of Congo is a very interesting place. The biggest population is there now is not Africans or Congolese. It's Chiners. The Chinese are all over the place, and mainly for the cobalt, which you need for your phone. Cobalt is, you can explain that better than I can, how important cobalt is.
Cobalt is an important rare earth. It's not technically a rare earth. It's an elemental substance, but it's it's used for all kinds of electronics, and I think in the screens maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I can't explain it, but I know that cobalt is used a lot in modern industry.
And I think we're going to send
troops.
It's
also used for make cobalt steel. It's a very important product.
Yes, I think we're going to send troops in again. And this is not about Ebola. It never is. Remember the last time? Remember we watched this stupid guy land with the private plane, and then he's like, oh my God, he's going to the hospital, he has Ebola, and he just hops out of the back of the truck. Oh, okay, I'll walk in the back door here. It's bullcrap. But something is going on in the Congo, and you can expect troops next. Because that's what we do. And I think China has something to do with it.
Obama, Ebola has that song grown. Ebola's gonna kill us all.
Woohoo!
Good catch.
Yeah, that's our Ebola update. We'll keep our eye on it. And I did want to discuss with you briefly about this code of conduct for the open source Linux development community.
Yes.
This is very interesting. And I know I saw you tweet something about the story this morning.
Yes.
This is, that Linus Torvalds got wrapped up in some kind of social justice warrior movement in the open source community.
There's one woman in particular doing it all.
Oh, really? Do we have a name for her?
I didn't expect to do the story, so I don't. But she is very I can get it if you. Well, you just talk about it.
It's okay.
Her name.
Well, what is interesting about what's happening here is, this is very much like Gamergate, and this is about language, words being used mainly on the Linux kernel mailing list, and they got to Linus Torvalds, and he's now going off to, sit in a yurt somewhere and think about all the horrible things he said to people, like F off and whatever, because that's what happens. Yeah, it's what happens on development mail lists. But okay, and now they've created a code of conduct, and you can get kicked out of the group, and and it's all responsibility and have to be fair.
The woman who put it together says it is a political thing.
Yeah, it's a completely political thing. But the real talk, what's happening now, is that depending on the type of open source license you have licensed your code under. Then there's a number of this is all Richard Stallman type stuff, and I'm not well versed in the legalese of it, but any developer can pull their code at any point and say, you're not allowed to use this anymore, I retract my copyright, which could in effect ruin Linux to a degree.
Oh yeah, you can't do that. That can't be possible.
Well, it is. Apparently it's legally possible.
I know, but if it's allowed, and if it becomes part of the system, the system won't work.
It'll fall apart. Yes, they call it the kill switch. Linux developers threaten to pull the kill switch. But this is a very important fight that's going on, and it's no one should be online. Really, we shouldn't have conversations online. We don't know how to do it. We're not prepared for this stuff. So I don't know where it's going to go, but I can see some people in a huff pulling their code. I can see that happening.
Yeah, I can too. Well, whatever the case, once Torvalds is out, that's pretty much the end of it, the way I see it. Because and it's this woman and her cadre who are extremely political. They are not going to. They just ruined the whole thing. And of course, that it kind of ties in nicely with a story done by some guy who's kicked out of some high school, some athletic director, for saying the words, "Oh, girls ruin everything."
Yeah, you can't say that.
And so that was the
no, you can't talk like that. That's wrong.
But we'll follow up on this.
Okay.
Next show.
Let me see. What else do we have here?
Well, I've got there was a thing done on PBS has got a new thing. It's plastic. And I got 2 clips that I want to play. One is the intro to the series that's going to be on PBS NewsHour. It's going to go on for a few weeks about plastics. And just listen to this. It's kind of a harem scarum, kind of a great opening. This is the plastics intro.
Waves of plastic are washing ashore. This beach in the Dominican Republic is inundated every day. This stretch of sand on Australia's Christmas Island is swamped by debris. Plastic is clogging landfills from Thailand to Kenya. Why? Plastic is virtually indestructible, and it doesn't break down easily. But there are also so many different types of plastic, it can be hard or in some cases impossible to recycle. And yet around the world, our appetite for plastic keeps on growing. More than 9 billion metric tons of plastic have been produced since 1950, the weight equivalent of 27,000 Empire State Buildings or more than 1 billion elephants.
Now, did this all stem from that one turtle with the straw up his nose? Has that led to this series?
I'm guessing yes.
Wow.
And I'm guessing the glass industry is behind it, but that's
the next question is, who's going to win in this? Who's going to replace the straw? The race for the straw.
But my favorite is the teaser they use for this series. I want you to listen carefully to this guy they bring on to make some comment about this problem, and listen carefully to what he has to say.
Plus, we kick off a new series, The Plastic Problem, as discarded bottles and bags threaten the health of humans, animals, and the environment.
Even if we stop today to use plastic, if we stop now, this plastic that is out there, still we're going to have to deal with it for the next hundreds of thousands of years maybe, because it's not going to go away.
Well, then why do the series?
Wait a minute. Let's get this straight. How long has humankind? I mean, we're looking at 2,000 years since the birth of Christ, maybe 30,000 years.
Plastic, hundreds of thousands of years.
Since the Chinese society was formed. But no, hundreds, not 100, but hundreds of thousands of years it's going to take us to clean up this mess. And yes, it does bring the point up, like, why bother? Hundreds of thousands. Well, who's this guy? Who are these people kidding with this bull crap?
Yeah.
It didn't take hundreds of thousands of years to put it there.
I want to know who's behind it, because this will come to light.
I'm guessing the glass industry. That would be the ones that make sense.
For glass straws?
No, they don't care about the straws. They care about the bottles and the packaging.
Yeah.
You don't want plastic. It's going to kill everyone. Anyway.
Hey, did you see the class action lawsuit against Facebook? No. I'm sure you saw this.
Oh, yeah, I think I did.
Yes, content moderators suing Facebook. Class action, though. It's a class action, which makes it more interesting.
That means there's a lot of them.
There can be, yes. Says her job gave her PTSD. This is the artificial intelligence that FaceBag is using. And I have in the show notes, I have their entire list of things that you have to look out for and how you moderate. It's really quite extensive, 200 pages. Let's see. Selena Scola.
This stuff, by the way, it says if they're finding all this sort of thing, child porn and all these are posted by people.
Yes.
That they're going, why don't they go arrest these people?
Oh, they're not going to. They can't start doing that. They'll be doing it all day.
So what?
Yeah. There's also beheadings. There's all kinds of horrible things. Here's Selena Scola.
There are videos and other things people try to post, and then these people have to watch this stuff. They get sick.
Which is exactly what the people in Austin are doing. They ship them all here so that they can be here and just be sick watching this horrible stuff. But the fact that these companies, first of all, let's just face it, they don't have artificial intelligence. Yes, these content moderators, the choices they make are training some algorithms, I'm sure. And I'm sure that some of that works.
I'm sure it doesn't.
Some of it, some things can be early flagging, but no, not really. It's all a pipe dream. They're going to go out of business. Google is now doing this too. I don't understand. You cannot do this forever. You're going to go out of business if you think that you can stop all of this with human beings. It's just, you can't have a one-on-one. Someone uploads, someone watches. It just can't work that way.
It's too much work.
It's way too much work. But when you look at this, when you look at the community standards document, anyway, so this woman is suing for being exposed to highly toxic, unsafe, and injurious content during her employment as a content moderator at Facebook. Although Facebook is probably smart, they hire these other companies, they contract it out. which on one hand is smart because they shift a little bit of that responsibility away from the corporate structure itself. On the other hand, these people are going to be poorly trained. And you're going to get this kind of stuff where people just can't handle it and they screw it and they sue Facebook. I think it's all coming apart at the seams. It really is. And now you have...
Well, the whole thing was a bit idealistic.
Facebook?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, billion-dollar companies don't go away overnight, but they do. It didn't take MySpace very long to fold. That went pretty quick. It feels like. I mean,
still there.
You know what I mean. You still have a profile on MySpace?
No, I never had a profile on MySpace.
But you know what I mean. They fall. I mean, it goes back to GeoCities, John. We saw that. We saw how fast it could fold. Remember Alta Vista?
Yeah.
That was the shit. Oh my God, Alta Vista. AV.com. They shortened it. AV.com. Don't even have to type Alta Vista anymore. And then came Google. Boom. Alta Vista was gone. It can end. And it's going to end on a monetary note if they continue to try and moderate every single piece of content that people upload. A, you can't do it. B, people are sick. They do sick stuff.
And then they make videos and post them.
And they make videos of it and share it with their friends. Yes.
Yeah.
So
I think that a lot of these people should be arrested. I don't understand why.
I totally agree. Yeah.
I should work with the local police.
They have they have reasons why that won't work.
Yeah, well, I have reasons why it will. FBI, let the FBI do it.
They're too busy
looking for something to do all the time.
No, they're too busy, investigating sex scandals of nominees.
Well, they're being forced to do that.
Everything is upside down. It's very, very skewed. Let's talk Brexit for a second.
Yeah.
It did get the stopgap measure that involves Northern Ireland and Ireland. I got a couple of notes from our producers in Northern Ireland as well as Ireland. I like this one as an explanation. Adam and John in Sunday's episode, Adam was wondering about the Brexit backstop and the significance of Northern Ireland in the whole Brexit debacle. Yes. In short, Northern Ireland is the only major region of the UK that shares a land border with an EU country. Got it. As such, once the UK leaves the EU and presumably leaves the customs union, there will have to be some kind of customs check established between the north and south of Ireland. This is very difficult to achieve because the border is completely open and invisible with no passport controls, no physical infrastructure on the ground between the two countries. The demilitarization of the area at the end of the conflict and the dismantlement, this is the big fight they had in Northern Ireland, and dismantlement of any physical signs of the border are considered positives, and both sides are happy with this arrangement. Yeah, it took a long time for that to settle down. Customs checks would also be difficult to enforce as the border has some peculiarities. For example, there are a number of places where the border runs down the middle of the road, between two lanes of traffic, in fact, and there are many winding roads that can cross back and forth between the two countries over the course of a few miles. Because of all this, we have the backstop proposal, which is for Northern Ireland to remain in some kind of customs partnership with the EU, sometimes described as regulatory alignment. Great New World Order word that is. To ensure minimal disruption. This is a popular opinion in Northern Ireland, especially since the majority here voted against Brexit in the referendum. The problem with the backstop is that Theresa May's coalition partnership, whom she depends on to keep her slim majority in Parliament, are against it. They oppose anything that would separate Northern Ireland from Britain in any way. The result is a political deadlock, and Theresa May is unable to make much progress in negotiations with the EU. And there's another opinion on this from the Shadow Minister for Northern Ireland, Stephen Pound, Member of Parliament, and he thinks it's going to be much worse.
This is not about people in the Labour Party striking postures. This is life and death to the people of Ireland, the whole island of Ireland, and we have to get that right. If you look at the border, 302 miles long, if you think that a camera up a pole can actually provide a border security, that will become a target. If you have a target, you have to defend the target. If you have a defender, you have to have someone to actually protect the defender. Before you know where you are, you've got uniformed UKBI or customs officers on the border. If you do that, then then I'm not being hysterical about this, but the peace process is finished. The minute you have uniformed troops on that border, if the peace process is finished, then peace in the island, on the island of Ireland, is under huge threat. So if we cannot get that right, then we cannot get anything right. And you can talk about all you want about Sweden and Norway, but the Irish border is the issue. And don't forget, the Swedish-Norway border closes at 10 o'clock at night, and there are more crossing points between Monaghan and Northern Ireland than there are between the whole of Sweden and Norway. 302 miles from Donegal to Dundalk, 282 crossing points. Solve that problem, well, and you've solved the riddle of the universe.
Yeah.
I can see that, though. I can see how having uniformed troops on that particular border would screw up a lot.
You know, it cracks me up. Yeah, I know the Irish in general hate the Brits, but the fact that they are going to give up their sovereignty to the Belgians is just remarkable to me. They went out of their way to stay out of World War II. Ireland was neutral throughout World War II, no matter what. And because they didn't want to get involved, they didn't want to help the British, they didn't want to, help the Nazis, they didn't want to help anybody. They wanted to be them own selves. And it's just this whole thing doesn't make any sense. Again, I think it's the way kids are educated. They don't have much respect for anything but
themselves. Globalism and themselves. Yeah, the big mommy and daddy in Brussels. You know what? Every kid should learn to eat Brussels sprouts at an early age. Get ready for their future leaders. So they can taste the freedom.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Well, we do have a few people to thank for show 1072. And we'll start off with a birthday call out for I don't know what the relationship is, but Eric Vogel, $100. It'll be a happy birthday to Jennifer. Robert Newby in Hendersonville, Tennessee, $100. Lars Rustmeyer in Sweden, $100.
Thank you very much. Sweden. Thank you. Yelskadai.
Sir Keith, $100. Roberto Mendez, 9140.
Yes, 9:14 a.m. Dvorak, you're fired.
Daryl Arnett in Norman, Oklahoma. These are $81 FPC magazine donations. I want to thank these people for doing this particular donation. And there's a few of them. And I'll name them. Daryl Arnett in Norman, Oklahoma, and Mike Robinson in Salem, Oregon. Don't inhale them. Scott Finlon in Oliphant, Pennsylvania. David Wynn in Rockville Center, New York. Chris Balderrama in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Charles Eves in Hawthorne Woods, Illinois. Carl Lindner in Cary, North Carolina. Can you smell it? John Atwood in Cotter, Arkansas. Sir Craig Porter in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Marcus Muder, I think, in Deutschland.
Hello, Deutschland.
James Lavin in Louisville, Texas. Kirsten Gleb, Dame of the Wild Sky, 81. She used to go donate through Pop Money. Oh. And now she's doing straight into because I don't know what changed. But maybe because we weren't calling her the Dame of the Wild Sky. I will from now on.
Yep.
Zachary Zeisler in Wilmington, Delaware. David Eckersley in parts unknown. Sir Christoph Barron of Buckeye. Daniel Torriello in Charleston, South Carolina. Yeah, good group here. John Hall in El Paso, Texas. Sir Kevin Laughlin, the Viscount of Luna.
You realize that these are all multiple years of subscriptions to PC Mag that are gone.
Yeah.
Gone for them.
Locust, North Carolina, another area that probably struck. Robert Bruckner, $81. And last, Kimberly Lewis in Davis, California, $81. So that's a good group. Thank you for
very nice.
Kind of a tribute donation.
And that remains open, this FPC Mag?
For another week.
Okay.
Ryan Brady, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kelstar in Fresno, California, 65. Ryan Brady, by the way, was boobs.
And he needs some relationship karma to break the world's longest drought. And job karma. Yeah, at least he's got his priorities straight.
Kelstar in Fresno, 65. Anthony Rodriguez in Tucson, Arizona, 5510. Michael Robinson, 5433. Chris Worth, Aurora, California, or Colorado, 5280. Scott Giacomin in Satellite Beach, Florida. He does have a note with as a call out. My name is Scott. My first donor, I need a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
Also, please call out my douchebag brother, Ryan. Douchebag. He introduced me to the show, but hasn't donated.
I hate it when that happens.
At the end.
Yeah.
He also wants to go on the record saying Tesla will succeed. Maybe, but not with
Sure.
Musk.
Hey, here's a question. Why can't the super Elon Musk, why can't he accomplish what NASA accomplished 50 years ago? It's by going to the moon. Is it so hard?
He's going around it first. This is what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And a big giant bus he's sending up there. Joe Bissessi, 5038. David Weirman, Bettendorf, Iowa, 5033. Scott Nelson, 5001 in Melbourne, Florida. And the following people are $50 donors, name and location. Louis Pastor in Miami, Florida, the inventor of the El Pastor taco. Jose Ferreira, Newbury, Berkshire, UK. Niels Bonnecker in Hamburg, Deutschland. Robert, I think he's a sir. Robert Makowski in Rhinebeck, New York. Is Jeffrey Zellen in Oakland, Michigan. Mitchell, part of local number 1, I believe. Mitchell Kaufman in Hillsboro, Oregon. Michael Kleckner in Ewing, New Jersey. Tim White. Sir Peter Totes in Sugar Land, Texas. Darren Denikowitz, I believe, in Dubai, Arab Emirates. Oh. Give us a report from there.
What's happening in Dubai?
Send some photos. Robert Drykeson in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Kenneth Lindbergh in Miami, Florida. Sir Lucas of the Lost Bits. And last but not least, Brent Vandenhorst in Eureka, California, saying it's long overdue.
Yes. Well, a good list once again. Thank you for supporting your value network, known as the No Agenda Show. Value for value is how it works. It started 11 years ago, and we asked a simple question. We're giving you 3 hours of entertainment and news and information and stuff you like. How does that compare to going to the movies and sitting in a dark room for an hour and a half with your date? And although it's a date, you never know. Hey, you have have a drink and some popcorn. That's $50. So you determine it. That's the best part about it. And usually, what people put in, they get out. That's what I love the most about the network that we've built over this decade. Thanks to everyone who came in under $50, typically for reasons of anonymity, but also a lot of people on the sustaining donations. You can all check that out at
Dvorak.org/NA.
A number of karmas to hand out. We got a note from Baron of KC, Dave Fugazodo. He says, in the morning, found out today an old army mate of mine, Brad Dahlberg, has a relapse of brain cancer, getting ready to go under the gamma knife, but wanted to see about getting some F-cancer karma for him on the next show. Of course, we happily do that, along with the jobs and relationship karmas as requested.
Fucking cancer! Fucking cancer!
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
And here is your list for today. It is the 27th of September, 2018. Very short. Eric Vogel says happy birthday to Jennifer Christ as she will be celebrating on the 29th. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe.
It's your birthday, yeah. Title changes. Turn and face the slaves. Title changes. Don't want to I'll be a douchebag.
No Knights or Dames today, but we do have a title change. And I'm a little confused now, John. Is it Dame Dang-It-All, or is it Dame Melo Dame Mello who goes to Dame Dang-It-All? That's a little...
No, I think her new name is Dang-It-All.
Dang-It-All. Okay, that's what I thought. So Dame Mello goes to Dame Dang-It-All. New title. And obviously, you can always look these up on our peerage map at itm.im/peerage or dvorak.org/peerage.htm. Drop the last L for extra lovin'. That's it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of anticlimactic.
What do you mean? We don't have any knightings. I can't help that. This is what it is. You're waiting for my big rundown.
We need some Insta Nights out there, people.
Yeah, we do. We do need some Insta Nights.
So we have an issue here at the San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay.
I think it was Gavin Newsom and maybe some of the other Democrats. I pointed out that there hasn't been a Republican governor in San Francisco since 1964.
Mm-hmm.
So figure that one out. And so it's become just kind of inbred, corrupt operation. So they built this Trans-Bay terminal.
Now I have a question about this. Is this the one that I got kicked out under eminent domain for?
Yes.
That is insane. I read what happened. So just to go back in no agenda history, I was living in San Francisco around 2009.
Yeah, at a very trendy, modern
Natoma Street. It was
a very pretty place. It was modern.
It was a loft. It was modern.
Very modern.
There was a lot wrong with it, particularly the person I was with, but there was a lot wrong with it. And we got kicked out under eminent domain.
Yeah, they took a really trendy little bar across the street, a little brick bar.
Yeah, what was that called again?
I can't remember, but it was very famous, and it was a landmark. But no, this whole area has got to go so they can move in construction.
I even remember that they had lifted the noise abatement so they could work 24/7, and we were still living there.
Yeah, that's how friendly the city is.
Oh, that was the worst.
So we got out of there before the poop thing. Anyway, they spent $2.2 billion on this Trans-Bay terminal. What it did is replace the old bus terminal that was there.
It's a bus terminal, right?
And it's still a bus terminal. But that wasn't the idea. Well, they sold it as the terminus for the high-speed rail from San Francisco to Los Angeles.
Right,
that's the one that runs from Fresno to Bakersfield.
And you won't have to take your shoes off.
And so the high-speed rail is going to come barreling in through a tunnel somewhere and under the city, and then up into the Trans-Bay terminal, or stay in the tunnel, I guess, underneath the Trans-Bay terminal. And that hasn't happened. And so what they've got now is a bus terminal, a glorified bus terminal
for $2 billion, for
$2.2 billion. And it just went up recently. It's already falling apart. I got 2 reports. And by the way, this report's not even up to date, because now it turns out there may be 3 cracked beams. Of course, they're using Chinese steel, we're guessing, which may have something to do with this, which is another issue nobody wants to talk about. Support beam Trans-Bay terminal. Clip.
Well, Liz, some of the surrounding streets have opened, but the main road that goes under the heart of the transit center remains closed, and it will stay closed until crews get a look at that crack on the support beam that was discovered this morning. This is the beam in question. Crews found a crack when they were installing ceiling panels around 10 in the morning. The beam supports the roof garden above the 3rd-level bus deck. Workers tonight were also inspecting a second beam in the cordoned-off area. Bus riders were shocked to hear the news.
The building's been only open for 3 months. Crazy.
Scary. Because I don't know what else can happen if, foundation and
we are sitting on piles of trash.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
You would expect that everything would be good to go after all this time.
The Trans-Bay Transit Center cost $2.2 billion and opened on August 12th of this year. The Trans-Bay Joint Powers Authority says out of an abundance of caution, it decided to shut down the brand new transit center.
I read somewhere explicitly that it was U.S. steel, but I guess that was a wrong report.
I don't know. It doesn't. They never tell it locally. Maybe it is U.S. steel.
And is it the steel that is cracked?
Yeah, the actual steel beam cracked.
That's not good.
So what does that do? You might be able to weld it. Who knows? But here's part two, which adds insult to injury.
And this is the second embarrassment for the transit center this month. A visitor walkway around the rooftop park started crumbling about 2 weeks ago. A spokesperson said that they would patch up the eroded sections as needed.
So Jay told me about this because she walks dogs in that area. She says the rooftop, which is way up there, it has a walkway and it's kind of supposed to be pleasant. It's got a lot of plants and grass. But they built it with some crazy new material. It cost a lot more to make it this way. And now it's crumbling and falling apart. So they don't know what to do about that. And meanwhile, right next door, of course, you have this situation.
Not far from the transit center, managers at the Millennium Tower are a step closer to submitting a report on the cause of a cracked window. The owner of an apartment on the 36th floor of the sinking building noticed the crack on September 2nd. It's since been taped up. Today, an engineering inspector rode a window washer rig up the side of the high-rise to get a closer look. The external inspection is one of the last steps before management submits a report to the city. It's expected to be completed by next week. The city wants to know if the crack is related to the sinking and tilting of the tower.
Who made this thing? Who was the main contractor? Do we know any of that? They're not mentioning it.
We used to, they used to write them all the time. I think the solution to them, of course, is just to go bankrupt and screw everybody. They get their money out, whatever they put in. I'll look into them. I don't have their name. It's just, another local. This whole city, this city of San Francisco is really bad. It's really bad.
How's the activity on the freeway? Are they still there? They haven't gotten an update from you.
Yeah, no, it's fine. No, you're talking about the cops.
Yeah.
Okay, so about 20 minutes ago, I saw a tow truck pulling some car, and then all the cops and everything followed the car, and that was the last I've seen them. They're all gone. So I don't know. They're never going to explain any of this stuff. Now, I do have one clip I wanted to get to. I got Hillary was on the Colbert Show, and she goes on.
Oh, about her paperback. She's a paperback writer.
Yeah, her paperback. So she's going around. But on that same show, Colbert and Neil deGrasse Tyson went out the back.
With them, they had the Mars rover, so-called
Mars rover. This is monstrous thing. I don't know. You can't get this thing to Mars. I don't know what kind of rocket you're going to have to put in. The thing's just bigger than
Hey, man, don't doubt Elon, man. He can do anything.
Well, it's a NASA rover, not Elon's.
Oh, all right.
And so they get in this thing, but they're on the outside of it looking around, and they spot a couple of tubes of oxygen and nitrogen going into the cabin. And then I hear this commentary, which really makes me wonder if Neil deGrasse Tyson is a phony.
You've got there's an afterword in here. There's a new afterword here, and it's democracy.
Well, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. That can't be right.
No, you're wrong. You got the wrong one. It says
I got it.
This is badass, right?
Yes.
Look at this. Oxygen chamber supply line.
Oh, we got oxygen and nitrogen coming together.
And what's happening then?
Oh, that's a nice reaction.
What's that?
Yeah.
What happens?
Well,
nitrous oxide.
Yes.
It's whippets. This is a party bus. We're going to be tripping balls in this thing. These rovers are rocking.
Okay.
Well, what is nitrogen and oxygen coming together? It's called air.
Yes. But somehow
air
he calls it nitrous oxide?
A 78% nitrogen and about 21% oxygen. That's what air is made out of. And this is making, you put those two together in those two tanks, and you're making air. If you put nitrogen and oxygen together and it somehow made nitrous oxide, which is the result of other kinds of chemical reactions, the entire planet would be on fire, and we'd all be stoned.
Well, that explains everything. Finally, an answer to the universe. We're all stoned.
So the fact that he would say you're going to get a reaction between nitrogen gas and oxygen gas, as opposed to just getting a kind of a mixture to create a normal air environment, or maybe oxygen enriched, which is, I would guess, is beyond dumb.
Damn it, Jim. He's an astrophysicist, not a chemist.
It's unbelievable.
No, it's totally believable. He's an actor. I mean, he's an interesting one. He does a good job.
No, he's definitely an actor.
Like this Mars rover was for real. Come on.
Oh, yeah. No, that thing was ridiculous. Anyway, so Hillary was on Colbert, and I do have a...
Good catch, by the way, on that. Good catch on the nitrous oxide bull crap. No one calls him on that.
No one says anything.
No.
Of course not. He's Neil deGrasse Tyson. Why would you call him on that?
NDG.
So Hillary is on Colbert, and she goes on with all these assertions about, especially over the last month, our democracy is under attack. It's a republic we live in. Our democracy is under attack, and she goes on and on and on, never citing any specifics of any sort, just going on. Everyone's agreeing and clapping. But let's play a little bit on her plugging. She's not really plugging the book because the book's been out. She's plugging the paperback version, which has a new little mini chapter in the back, which is an afterword. She's added some new nasty stuff.
You've got there's an afterword in here. There's a new afterword here, and it's democracy in crisis.
Yes.
Under Trump.
Yes.
Is that a fancy way of saying "I told you so"? Because you'd be allowed to say "I told you so."
I really want people to take it seriously, regardless of who you voted for, whether you even voted, and think about why our democracy is in crisis. And I don't use the word lightly. I really regret using the word because I wish it weren't the case. But what we've seen in the last months in so many ways is degrading the rule of law, delegitimizing our elections, attacking your favorite subject, truth and reason, spreading corruption, undermining our national unity. Each alone is a threat, but you put it all together, and it really is a crisis to who we are as a nation.
When you compare our situation right now in some ways to Watergate, and you know that of which you speak because you were a lawyer working for, was this the Judiciary Committee?
Yes.
Judiciary Committee. There you are right there.
Didn't she get kicked off of that?
I think so.
I thought she got kicked
it's
off
one of the
of that.
dorkiest pictures you've ever seen.
Yeah, I think she got kicked off of that for some reason.
1974, bringing the impeachment charges against President Nixon in the Judiciary Committee hearing room at the U.S. Capitol. What are the similarities between Donald Trump and Richard Nixon? Richard Nixon was a very accomplished politician.
Yes, he was.
He was a veteran of the
everybody's a big Nixon fan now.
Isn't that interesting?
War. He had many accomplishments to be proud of.
Great guy. And did a lot of good things as president.
Great. Super
started
duper.
the Environmental Protection Agency, something that people might not know or remember.
Lowered the voting age.
Yes, lowered the voting age.
Could never be nominated as a Republican, maybe not even as a Democrat at this point.
You're probably right about that. But
yeah, you're probably right.
But,
he's dead.
He had a real obsession with trying to go after his opponents and trying to, really consolidate his power. And he had people around him in the White House who enabled that.
Yeah, and let's not forget that uncoupling from gold, moving off the gold standard. He did some great things.
And he got himself into real trouble. And I don't think we can make a comparison yet because there was a very thorough investigation of President Nixon at the time that I was part of. And it drew conclusions so that even Republican members in the Congress understood that they had to take action. And we're not at that point yet with this president.
I think she was disbarred. Now, this could be a Republican conspiracy theory. Here we go. Cato Institute, and we'll just take that. Was Hillary Clinton fired from the Nixon impeachment inquiry? Washington Post fact-checker Glenn Kessler gives a maximum 4 Pinocchios to the claim that Hillary Clinton was fired during the Watergate inquiry. Okay, so maybe
well,
it's
then
not.
she wasn't.
No, I guess not. It's WAPO, man. WAPO.
WAPO's right.
WAPO's always right. Huh. Well, you think she's still going to run?
Yes.
There's no one else. It's actually someone sent me a little gotcha that we didn't catch on the Michael Moore interview on. Although I heard it and it just didn't register. I figured maybe, and I didn't think about it afterwards. When Michael Moore was on the Bill Maher show about giving money to the Democrats Listen to what Moore actually said.
But the good news about this election in November is that people like myself and others, you've contributed to the DSCC.
I'm still feeling it.
He says DS. He wants to say DSA. But he then says he changes it to DNC. DSA is the Democratic Socialists of America.
Oh, good catch.
Yeah, that was Josh Jackson caught that. It's like, that is an interesting point. We got to keep our eye on this DSA. I'm not quite sure exactly who's running it, but I think it's bigger than anyone realizes. And that, of course, is the party of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yes, there's a few others running under that moniker.
Yeah. CNBC finally got the memo. We did the story a few weeks ago. We have been predicting this since probably the early episodes of the show, just talking in technology terms as to what eventually is going to happen. We thought it would happen with auto insurance first, and it did kind of, if you look at what Progressive is doing with putting black boxes and monitors in your car to make sure you're a safe driver and to give you all kinds of benefits and premiums for being a safe driver and letting them track you. And this is the John Hancock life insurance story. But now from CNBC, who finally have seen this as news.
Then we have John Hancock, one of the oldest of all life insurers. They're changing their business model with your health in mind. All right, wrap it up, Susan. What are they doing?
So they're going to stop selling and underwriting traditional life insurance. Instead, they're going to sell these interactive fitness policies that are tied to Fitbits, Apple Watches, where you basically log in your meals, they track your workouts, and then they decide on the premiums, and you get perks for logging in what you're eating, how much you're working out. They give you gift cards or they give you premium discounts.
If I want a John Hancock life insurance policy, I got to have a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, and I got to plug the thing in, and they've got to hear about my heart all the time.
And how much you're working out. Hopefully you're on the elliptical daily there, Stuart.
What a joke.
Yes.
But you can't get a life insurance policy from these people unless you do that.
It has shown to them, John Hancock, that this is actually very popular, something that they've offered since 2015, and the growth rates have been tremendous because a lot of people are having more wearables. Everyone's looking at the new Apple Watch.
Well, but it is controversial because there's privacy issues, and they're going to select the most popular, most profitable customers.
I don't care.
And reduce
you keep the premiums down, and I'm signing up. That's simple.
That's what they want to hear.
Are we done with this? Yes, we are.
Wow. All in, baby. Give me the premium, lower that, and I'll wear whatever you want me to. Slaves.
It's unbelievable. That is very slavish.
Slaves.
Slaves to an insurance company.
And this is the stuff that worries me about, Professor Ted's premonition. This is the stuff that's happening. It was hard enough for me to get health insurance just being an old white dude without a job. They don't look very favorably on me. And it's like, oh, well, this guy's probably not so insurable. We don't be careful with him. Former smoker, all this stuff. So now that I'm going to have if I don't wear something, and they may just say, well, then, we're not going to insure you at all. I mean, who's going to win in that situation?
I'm looking at the DSA website, trying to figure out who's behind it. It's a group of people. I never heard of any of them. They seem to be. I think the orientation. It looks like they stem from public service workers, and I'm guessing the classics, the SEIU and
right.
AFSCME.
How about the Workers' Party?
No, I don't see too much of that.
Not the Workers' Party.
So it seems like people that actually work for a living.
I caught an interesting.
And a lot of teachers, I'd say teachers are it's coming from today's current modern teachers.
Oh, so the teachers union. Well, they also did Occupy. A lot.
Well, it's great. Fantastic.
This is from the House of Commons. There was a debate about anti-Semitism being on the rise in the UK. I've seen this. I know it's all. There's lots of problems in the UK. It's not. They got more problems than Brexit. And this is Ruth Smeeth. She's a member of Parliament, and she was giving a speech, and had to play this for our own entertainment.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I find myself in the bizarre position today of feeling obliged to state for the record that my register of interests are in fact accurate and that I have not failed to report any additional employment. Specifically, Madam Deputy Speaker, I feel I must inform you that I am not a CIA spy, I am not a Mossad agent, and nor am I an MI5 operative. And to assure people who are occasionally foolish enough to Google me, although I would urge you not to, it can be unpleasant reading, I do not work for the people of Tel Aviv, but for the people of Tunstall. These are just some of the regular anti-Semitic tropes that have become normal in my world. And to be clear, just in case I needed to say it, I am not, nor have I ever been, a lizard, transdimensional or otherwise. What I am, Madam Deputy Speaker, is a proud trade unionist, a Labour Party activist for over 30 years, and a lifelong anti-racist. I also happen to be a British Jew. And in 3 decades of political activism, there has never come a time when those 4 parts of my identity provided any form of conflict until now.
It gives me an excuse to play this one. I thought it was only in America that we had anti-Semitism like that, but no. No, the Brits have it too.
It's very subject to it.
Yeah.
I like the line though where she says, "I am not now or never have been a lizard."
It's fantastic.
Wow. I'd give you a clip of the day for that one, but
it's okay.
Give you a clip already.
Yeah, I already got one. It's good.
All right, I have a couple of things left. I do have a. If we want to kill some time, I have the history of Sweden. That is quite interesting.
You know, I would like to. I'm very interested in Sweden still, especially now with the Parliament voting out Minister Stefan. So now, and this is the Sweden Democrat Party, who are, I guess, I'm going to get this all wrong. Who now have to form a coalition, and things are changing. So yes, I'm very interested. I'm all in on Sweden. Let me see.
Well, we don't know Sweden. We don't understand Sweden. We haven't got a clue about Sweden. This is for those podcasting guys. Not this. I know it's the same podcast or another one.
Deconstructive.
One of the guys is an expert, and he's a historian type of guy, and he gives a history of Sweden that is alien to anything that Americans generally know. Now, when I went to Sweden, as I do when I go to. Or I used to, when I went to extremely countries that are extremely different culturally, I'd always read a cultural anthropology book about the people, so I wouldn't, so I could I'd be observing the correct things normally, and I would be acting properly. But this is the history of Sweden. It's a long clip, but you can stop it or not stop it. This is you have to look it up in the archives because this is from about 3-4 shows ago, which never got played.
Ah, okay. What's it called?
History of Sweden.
I was
1.
Yeah, okay. History of Sweden 1. Here we go.
And I'll try to explain. So, Swedes are not West. They're not West. This is not a Western country.
That's true.
This looks like a Western country on the surface, but it's not a Western country. It's a collectivist country that belongs to Eastern Europe.
Now, this is the deconstructive podcast, but not the initial one we played, the second one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sweden and Norway is not a part of the continent as much as they are sort of a peninsula that grows out of Siberia.
Right. And you mean traditionally and culturally, we're not a part of Western Europe.
Yes.
We are not part of the East.
The Danes and the Norwegian Vikings faced west, and they become more individualist, and they came into the pale of the Anglo-Saxon world. But Sweden was boxed in with the Baltic, so we were facing east. And a lot of the trade routes from Constantinople went up the rivers from Constantinople into deep inland Russia.
Volga.
Yes, for instance. And then the Rus, who founded Russia, they had an empire there, and they used the Vikings' trade route to trade with north of Europe. And that was the first golden age of Sweden.
Right.
The trade routes of...
I'm glad you pulled this clip, because I think we're in Luzerne, and I listened to this particular episode, and I found it very informative.
Yes, it's very educational.
Because when you think of Sweden, you don't get much further than ABBA.
Yeah, and Blondes.
And IKEA. And don't forget Hammerson Morse, H&M. That's a big one.
Northern Europe.
About 1,000 years ago.
Yes, and they're deeply collectivist. And now what happened is Sweden is so far away that it wasn't affected by the rise of Rome. It wasn't affected by the fall of Rome. It wasn't affected by the rise of the Catholic Church. It became Catholic, the second last country in Europe, I think, to be christened.
Bunch of heathens.
Wow, is that true?
Yes, after Latvia. So Sweden got Christian around 1100s, and it only held for a few hundred years, and never really. And we belonged to the pale of the Roman Catholic Church, but we weren't really in the pale, so we weren't really affected by that as much either. Right. What really formed Sweden was Martin Luther, the Reformation, the Protestant Reformation in the Christian Church, because Gustav Vasa, who was the first true monarch of the first time Sweden was a unified country, he saw before any other monarchs in the world what he could do with Martin Luther's theses. What he did was he took it as a chance to get rid of the church, the Roman Catholic Church, but also as a way to better control his subjects. Because what he did was he took the Protestant Reformation, he applied it to Sweden, which made all the churches his, instead of Rome's, and
including all the land and all the assets,
and all the land and all the assets, and that's what we learn in the history books in Sweden, that Gustav Vasa took the churches because of the treasure, but that's not the treasure in the church. It's not the buildings, it's not the land, it's not the silver or gold they have up at where the priest stands.
The altar. Right. So what did he want from the church?
He wanted names.
The names?
Yes, because the priests were the only ones who knew how many people lived in the country. They had the names
church books.
They had the names of everyone who was born, everyone who was married, everyone who died.
And it's just like the Mormons having all the records
for a different purpose.
Well, sure.
The bastards and all the bastards.
And all the bastards. And if you have the names of people, that is when taxation becomes a real possibility.
Oh, I see.
So that is the treasure of the church. The names.
Right.
And he used the church to construct the oldest and greatest bureaucracy the world has ever seen.
True.
And he made the churches not into Christian houses of worship as much as he made them into schools for Swedishness.
Right.
And he had a program of isolation that he had planned would last forever, because Sweden didn't have to fight if it didn't want to. We were too isolated.
All right. So from that point, what you're saying is, from that point, the churches in Sweden became a bureaucratic hubs, sort of. So he could start to tax people in a more effective way.
Yes, Gustav Vasa was a brilliant administrator. What he did was he took control of Sweden. He took the nobility. We had a very weak nobility compared to the rest of the world at that time, and he made them his first bureaucrats.
All right.
So he used the nobility, and then he used the priests, and he melded these together into like some sort of bureaucratic seed.
Right.
And this created a tradition in Sweden of a monolithic state with an authoritarian state with one monarch at the top, and it's a very collectivist culture.
Right, but not communism.
No,
but sort of.
No, not sort of. I mean, if you have an egalitarian collectivist collective, then egalitarians want everyone to be as much alike one another as possible.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Yeah, egalitarian.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I learned in the anthropology. Which is what I accounted for the reason Sweden could do such good business with the Japanese, is that they both had, even though it was structured slightly different, the Swedes are very flat structured organizations where the secretaries is likely to get coffee for the bosses the other way around. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry, the boss is more likely to get coffee for the secretary than the other way around that we expect here. Mm-hmm. Is this egalitarian thing. And that's why they have there's this saying in both Sweden and Japan, which is that if the nail that's sticking up is the one that gets pounded down by the hammer.
They say that in Holland too.
Yeah, I think Holland has some of that going on too.
But in Holland they always say that's the Calvinistic.
Yeah, that would be word. Yeah, I think there's a model there that comes from Calvinism. Mm-hmm. But this egalitarianism is a key to the whole thing. And I just wonder how that works out with all these immigrants that they got in Sweden, raping their women. It's like, well, what are we going to do? I don't know. It's guys, I think they may be short-circuited here with this. Yeah,
they're like their brains are in irons. They don't know what to do. They can't go left, can't go right. It's their brain freeze.
Yeah, because of these years and years and years of this culture, which is, I think it was important to know that it's Eastern. Yeah, it's an Eastern European culture, not a Western European culture, which we can't quite grasp. We can't quite grasp that. And even when you go there, although I've been to Eastern European countries, when maybe it does resemble them more if you start to think about it in hindsight. But yeah. It's very fascinating. I thought it was a good little piece the guy did.
I love the history, and I liked the second time I heard this. I like it a lot because you don't even think about these things. All we know is sweet Viking something, Norway, Scandinavia, something up there. Blondes. That's right. Okay, last clip from me. Israeli spy software Pegasus.
Israeli surveillance software tool capable of accessing microphones, cameras and other data has been tracked to 45 countries around the world. Researchers think the tool, designed to track criminals, is being misused by governments to snoop on innocent civilians.
I'm here in Herzliya, just north of the Israeli city of Tel Aviv, and this building is home to an Israeli company called NSO Group, which develops and sells one of the most invasive spywares in the world. The software is called Pegasus, and it doesn't matter whether you're an iOS or Android person, your phone could become a target. This is how Pegasus works. The target receives a text message with a special link. One click on it and the spyware is secretly downloaded to your smartphone. From then on, all your private data, personal messages, passwords, just about everything is being sent back to the operator. So who are the targets? According to NSO Group, its software is designed to track criminals.
Our products have saved the lives of thousands of people, prevented suicide terror attacks, helped convict drug cartel lords, facilitated complex crime investigations, and returned kidnapped children to their parents.
But internet researchers from Citizen Lab embarked on a hunt for Pegasus. And according to them, it does not serve only a good cause. Instead, it may be breaching innocent people's privacies and some countries' laws against cross-border hackers. Citizen Lab tracked the malware in as many as 45 countries, among them 6 states with a history of abusing spyware to target civilian society.
Now, what? Where did this story come from?
Oh, RT, of course. RT. Oh. Yeah.
Do you have? What? That's a very interesting story that needs to be. I have to look into this.
I haven't heard anyone talk about it.
I kind of heard about it, but I didn't hear anybody do a report. Obviously, for the same reason I couldn't get my 5G thing stayed on.
Yeah, exactly.
I have one last clip that I think finishes the show nicely.
All right.
And this is about the new poll giving Beto, or whatever his name is, a 2-point lead over
Cruz. Shocking!
So shocking. They bring in a chatterbox, and they try. This is one of these CBSN, I believe, or one of these online.
Hold on, on CBSN, there's a YouTube video for an hour and a half. They had their camera on the White House because they thought Rod Rosenstein would walk out. And they just kept going back to this shot was up the whole time.
It's almost like Andy Warhol is directing this place.
He's just like, any minute now will come out.
Well, anyway, so this is a Texas poll clip, and I think you'll get a kick out of it. I did edit it, by the way, for brevity.
Reuters poll gives Democratic Congressman Beto O'Rourke a 2-point advantage over Republican Senator Ted Cruz.
President Trump has said he plans to hold a major rally for Cruz in Texas in October. Alana Rocha is a multimedia reporter for the Texas Tribune. She joins us now from Austin, Texas. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good morning.
So, Alana, Texas is a reliably red state, although it's sort of been inching towards purple, according to some polls. Senator Cruz has led in most polls. What is significant about this one?
Well, this is the first one that O'Rourke takes the lead. Granted, it's a 2-point lead, so he's still within the margin of error. He's an El Paso congressman. He's been in Congress as long as Cruz has, 6 years in the House, of course, 6 years in the Senate for Cruz. He's energizing. He obviously is proud that he's toured all 254 counties here. He's going to parts of the state that are Republican strongholds and turning out large crowds. So I just think he's energizing. There's a genuine fact.
I was waiting for it. And stop.
So the controversy surrounding Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the Supreme Court is becoming a political issue as we near the midterm elections, obviously. Ted Cruz has said that Christine Blasey Ford's assault allegations are serious and deserve to be treated with respect. What impact could this have on his re-election efforts? How's he expected, I guess, to navigate this issue in the coming weeks?
Yes, indeed. And that was my head that exploded, actually. John, I love it when you put some extra work in.
Yeah, you got to do something once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, for the kids. That's great.
For the kids.
All right, everybody, that's our deconstruction for today. Of course, we'll have a lot about what happened in this Kavanaugh kerfuffle, or whatever it is. Or maybe not. Anything could happen on a show day. Probably not. You're right. It was like,
but we got Sundays coming up, so there's not going to be a lot of time in between now and then. So that you'll probably be close to. I think it'll be interesting. We should have a great show on Sunday.
All right. Well, join us then, and remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. And that's how you keep the network rolling. And again, thanks everybody who contributed to the show in many, many, many ways. I am coming to you from downtown Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA Region 6 on the governmental maps, in the 5x9 Cludio, in the common law condo. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I don't have all these things to describe myself or where I am because I can't remember from one day to the next. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Sunday right here on No Agenda. Until then, as always, adios, mofos.
My administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay. With support from many countries here today, we have engaged with North Korea to replace the specter of conflict with a bold and new push for peace. We defend many of these nations for nothing, and then they take advantage of us by giving us high oil prices. Not good. Not good. Iran's neighbors have paid a heavy toll for the region's agenda of aggression and expansion. America is governed by Americans. We reject the ideology of globalism, and we embrace the doctrine of patriotism.
California's Governor Jerry Brown says that it was a Democratic conspiracy.
It's really extraordinary. What's the word? I don't even have an adjective. The exemplar. Trump, something's got to happen to this guy.
How do you counteract that?
And how we counteract it is with lies, more migration, incoherent, disruptive, and quite frankly bizarre behavior.
We're out of it.
Because we can't say it enough. The president is the exemplar.
Democratic conspiracy proves that nearly 3,000 people did not die in Puerto Rico, even though it was the result of a scientific study.
And that's tragic.
Paris climate agreement isn't official and binding. Everyone who predicted that this would happen. Talk to me about what we are physically experiencing here in the United States and around the world.
We'll have more drought, more fires, more storm reactions, protests, more intense storms, bizarre behavior. And the worst part is more migration. We're going to have people moving from their land that will no longer produce enough food.
I can't stream. No agenda. And you won't believe your eyes connected. I have
fast again, connected.
And if you look, you can actually, as they approach, you can see this dark mass.
Right there.
That indicates...
Time lapses? There were time lapses?
First of all, I didn't even know it was a she. I just know it was an it.
This is a person?
Do they think we're stupid? I just want to say to the men of this country, that could cost jobs.
Jobs.
Some individuals are comparing this to Watergate.
We don't have a problem in our Congress.
Time lapses? There were time lapses?
Look again. Here's what everyone else looks like.
A lot of world leaders started laughing at him as opposed to with him.
Thank you, Rosencrantz. I'm sorry, not Rosencrantz and Gunstar. Sessions.
Coming up, Dunkin' Donuts lovers.
To be fair, it means different things to different people.
From Russia to Canada to England and Spain.
Countries of Africa, of Europe, of Americas.
Don't make fun of me when I slip up and say something wrong.
No one is above the law.
Now he says he was in on the joke. Really?
Look again. Here's what everyone else looks like.
Time lapses? There were time lapses?
You know, I'm not sitting here, some little woman standing by my man like Tammy Wynette.
Expect that reaction, but that's okay. Jean-Claude is a tough man. He's a very good man. I like him, but he's tough. Cookie. But he's a tough cookie. They wouldn't talk to President Obama, wouldn't even talk to him. And then I said, that's okay, you don't have to talk to me. I said to him, we have to renegotiate the deal. He said, but Mr. President, we are very happy with the deal. We don't want to negotiate. I said, you may be happy with the deal, but I'm not happy with the deal. And after 3 times, he still didn't want to renegotiate. I said, that's okay. We don't have to renegotiate any longer. We're going to put a tariff on all of the millions of cars you send into the United States. Cookie. But he's a tough cookie. And honestly, he was in my office so quickly from Europe that I didn't know they had airplanes that flew that fast. And we have the semblance of a deal. But he's a tough cookie. The European Union won't talk to him. He says, but Mr. President, we are very happy with the deal. We don't want to negotiate. He's nasty. But he's a tough cookie. But he's a tough cookie. Cookie. He's nasty.
There it is. Oh my God!
They're so close!
They're right there!
Yeah, baby, look
You
at
gotta
that!
be kidding me! You've got to be kidding me! What?
Stick again!
Stick to landings!
The best podcast in the universe!
Mopo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Ebo.